Live here from Viking Stadium as the 3-2 DVC Vikings come home after an overtime win in a bye week, and they are taking on the 3-2 Chabot Gladiators. We got a fun matchup today. The captain's gammon on the field. The Vikings won the toss and they elected to receive. So the Vikings will come out there, take the ball to get things going, and we'll see what the freshman quarterback Dylan Graham is able to do.
Yeah, both these teams coming off of two relatively close wins. Chabot County actually coming off a high-scoring 38-31 victory cutting into conference play against West Hills, and Diablo Valley coming off an exciting win, which you had commentated before on the overtime win. That
was a fun one. The Vikings showed some great defense. They made a lot of key mistakes, but they were able to get out there with an overtime win. And in that game against West Hills last week with Chabot College, they actually only punted the ball twice. Each team only punted it once.
And both these teams looking pretty similar, relatively speaking, from the points allowed and points for each game, hovering around 25 a game, scoring at around 20, giving up. So it should be an evenly matched game between these two teams.
So a new kicker out on the field this time will be Paulo Rico. As Paulo Rico, the offensive lineman, kicks the ball up, it'll be fielded at the 10-yard line. Out in between the hash marks, working towards the near sideline, out to the 25-yard line, has some space, out to the 40, the 50, the 40, getting past one last defender. That was the kicker himself, and the Vikings will be set up into great offensive field positioning to get things going.
Wow, Prowse just completely avoided the blocks on the left side, took it down the sideline. Incredible kick return to start the game, and usually their average is around 15 yards of a kick return. This time returning it for around 40 yards. Great start to the game for the Vikings.
And that's a newly inserted kick returner as well. So the Vikings will come out. They'll have a shuffled offensive line led by their freshman quarterback. Last week, Graham was 20 for 36, or 2 weeks ago rather, he was 20 for 36 for 216 yards and a touchdown. And the Vikings from the near hash mark now will come out with Graham at quarterback in the pistol set, trips out to the far side of the field. Fake the handoff for a second, and they toss it into a slant route out to the 20-yard line, veering out to the 15, the 10, cuts inside, brought down inside of the 10-yard line, and that's Dominic Dominguez, the leading wide receiver, with the first reception, setting the Vikings up in 1st and goal.
Completely blown coverage there from the secondary of Chabot. They had a couple cornerbacks and safety play off about 15 yards, couldn't exactly read the quarterback's eyes, and that left a wide open slant over the middle for the Vikings.
Yeah, and it was weird. It looked like they were actually trying to go with the play-action motion at first as Graham kind of just held the ball out there. There's no action, but whatever it did, it worked. From the near hash mark now, Graham will line up. The running back behind him, Tyrell Sturgis-Cofer, comes in 6th in the state in yards per game. They hand it off to Sturgis-Cofer as Sturgis-Cofer dives forward, getting a gain of 3 on the play.
Good push from that front 7 there of Chabot to stop him for only a couple yards gain. But still, going back to that last play, both cornerbacks had no involvement in that play. They were neither pressed on their man or even covering the deep ball. And just from that blown coverage play, now they're forcing that front 7 to really stack the blocks.
And the Vikings have a shifted around offensive line as Christopher Strader comes out at right tackle now from his right guard position. Graham in the pistol from the near hash mark. They'll run stretch out to the far side of the field. It goes out to Sturgis-Cofer. Sturgis-Cofer hit behind the line of scrimmage, trying to get back to the original line of scrimmage. It'll be taken down likely for a loss of half a yard.
Read perfectly by those linebackers of Chabot, getting out to the far side of the field and able to actually get him for a couple yards of a loss. But from what it's looking like right now from this DVC offense, it seems like the pass game might be the way to go with that struggling secondary. But the front 7 of this Chabot defense looks very, very strong and able to stop runs from behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and Chabot comes out there and they show 2 different fronts. They show the 4-2, the 4-2-5, and they also show a 5-man front, but they're working out of a 4-man front, or a 5-man front right over here.
And watch that near side for a fade route.
Far hash mark. Graham will hand it off to Sturgis-Cofer. Sturgis-Cofer stutter steps in the backfield, gets about a yard on the carry, and that's a very strong defensive front from Chabot being able to buy themselves out of a hole, and it'll force the Vikings kick team to come onto the field.
Odd play call there from Coach Dar. A little bit puzzled by that one. They obviously, I mean, with that first slant, it seemed like the passing game was going great. It opened up the run game a little bit, but seemed to go back to the wishing well a bit too many times there. 3 runs to the side or up the middle, and that defensive line's doing great to pounce past that offensive line.
And Christopher Abbas will come out for a 22-yard field goal attempt here as he nailed 3 for 3 last week. Awaiting the snap is off. The kick is up. goes to the uprights, and Christopher Abbas is able to cross the tee on the PAT as the Vikings come out. They start out hot, and with 12:17 left in the first quarter of play, the Vikings take a 3-0 lead to kick things off.
I mean, if you're a DVC here, you can't really complain with starting out with putting points on the board. Just only less than 3 minutes into the game, the Vikings already take a 3-0 lead, but a little bit of a disappointment, I would think, from Coach Adar and sideline a little bit, just because when you've got first and goal at the 5-yard line and you run it 3 times, you're expecting to get more than less than 1 yard.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you trust Sturgis Cofer. He's coming off that huge game with 23 rushes for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns off of the bye week. But if you're running into a 5-man front, it's just up to the offensive line to get their blocks and trusting the running back to go out there and try to make the play. But unfortunately for the Vikings, their offensive line that's been really shuffled around was not able to get the blocks, and that's why you see the three runs fail.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a little bit hard to be surprised in this situation here. DVC just 57% in the red zone. They've only scored 16 out of 28 times when they are inside the 20, and their touchdown percentage from those 28 times just 36%. So when it comes to these red zone struggles, DVC's got to look to mix up the play calls a little bit because that is very subpar.
That's one thing that Coach Dar highlighted coming into this game. He talked about how they moved the ball so well between the 20s, but once they got into the red zone, they really struggled. Christopher Abbas kicking left or right now will line up, boot it with the big right leg, and this one will be fielded inside of the 10-yard line. He'll be fielded at the 8-yard line, working his way out to the 20-yard line, has some space, tackled down inside of the 30-yard line, and they'll mark it down straight on that 30. As it looked like the returnman on the play was Janiro Crankfield.
And Shabot usually great on special teams from returns, averaging around 25 yards per return. Obviously here, just about 15 yards, but good job from the DVC special teams to be able to wrap them up just about at the 30-yard line. But we'll see what Shabot comes out with here, averaging around 230 yards over the past game, 170 on the ground. You'll look to see a couple of mix-ups here with play calling as they run around 67, 68 plays per game.
Yeah, and Chance Akaka, the 6', 195 sophomore quarterback, is the complete offense. He can do everything as he rolls out to the right this time, has some time to throw, finds a man over the top, and it's caught at the 30-yard line, the 20, the 10, into the end zone for a Chabot touchdown on the very first play. Richard Washington, the freshman wide receiver, was the man on the reception, and he takes it to the house.
Incredible play there from the Chabot offense. Great pitch and catch there. From Chabot. One thing that might not have been noted there, the offensive lineman Halili Ayea had a perfect block on the linebacker. Devin Thomas allowed Chase Akaka to be able to get a throw off. Perfect dime down the field. Great 70-yard score there, and Chabot takes the lead.
Chabot takes the lead early as the offensive lineman playing kicker Paulo Rico comes out, and he's able to nail the PAT.
A designed rollout there from Akaka, and it was a great play call from Chabot, but great couple of blocks there from the offensive line to free him up. He was able to actually run for about 20 yards down the field, opted to throw. Great decision there as he had a receiver wide open, blown coverage from the DVC secondary.
Akaka last week went 16 for 20 for 356 yards. One interesting thing about the way that this Chabot offense works, I believe the average yards per catch for their receivers is above 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so when they get the ball, they get the long ball, and that's predominantly because Chance Akaka has the athleticism to extend plays, get the ball deep, and just really do everything for this offense.
Yeah, he is leading the team in rushing yards, obviously leading in passing yards, and it'll be look to see what he does later on in this game as they have 12 passing touchdowns on the year, which is over double on the ground. They do run the ball around 15 more times per game on average, but great start here, and this will keep the DVC defense guessing.
So now Chabot comes back up to kick it for this for the second time, and the Paulo Rico kick will be fielded at the 10-yard line, working the way in between the hash marks, cutting it up inside, out to the 30-yard line, drop down right over there. And that looked like it was Chris Miles on the kick return there.
Special teams looking a little bit better from Chabot the second time around. It'll be interesting, though, to see what DVC does here. The run game not really working inside the red zone, maybe with a little bit more room to work with. A lot of space downfield. They'll be able to mix up the play calls a little bit. Preferably maybe throw some passes towards the fade. These cornerbacks seem to be in one-on-one coverage. wide receivers with one double move could be open on a fade to the outside, maybe even open over the middle with this one safety backfield secondary for Chabot.
Graham comes out in the pistol in between the hash marks from the 31-yard line. He'll get the snap. Stepping after, oh my goodness, a drop pass on that play as Graham had some time to throw, but unfortunately he couldn't hook up with the wide receiver, and the intended receiver on the play was John Giagiari III.
Yeah, good closeout there from Nugent, the defensive back, able to put a little bit of pressure on the receiver, and good play call again from DVC. Looks to be trying to get that passing game back to what it was the first drive to open up that run game. But I'd look for a run here as Dar keeps switching it up on each play.
Man-to-man defense across the board here with a 4-man front, one linebacker up the gut. Graham between the hash marks now on second down. He'll hand off to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer gets the ball out past the 35-yard line, inside of the 35, down to the 37-yard line, and they'll set up a 3rd and manageable.
Now 3rd and what it looks to be about 4 yards here. Should be an easy enough conversion if DVC can get the right play calls, but unfortunately throughout the season that has not been the case. Just 13 of 68 on 3rd downs, under 20% on the year, and hopefully look to get back to 20% on this one conversion.
4-17 the game before the bye week. The Vikings between the hash mark, near the near hash mark, works with a pistol set with trips out the left. Chabot brings the pressure off the left side, and it's an RPO. It's caught at the 40-yard line, making a move past the line to gain, and that'll be 2 yards past the line to gain, and Dominic Dominguez will get his 2nd catch of the day.
Perfect read there from Graham. He sensed that pressure coming off the left edge. Chabot brought a couple of linebackers there with only putting 3 defensive linemen, and he had a receiver wide open in the middle of the field. Seems to be no coverage on there as Chabot took an extra linebacker.
Vikings with the green helmets, gray jerseys, white pants, and green trim with the white numerals. And on the other side of the ball, black helmets, yellow jerseys, yellow pants, and black numerals for Chabot College. The Vikings work left to right as they line up from the 43-yard line of their own side of the field in that pistol set from the far hash mark. Graham gets the snap, tosses it out, and it's caught by Sahagan. Sahagan catches the ball after coming back for it, and he'll be escorted out of bounds at just about the 46-yard line.
Long throw from Graham there to the other side of the field. Good pitch and catch, but great closeout there from the Chabot defensive backs to be able to get him for only a couple yards of the game. Yeah,
Chabot's going to play a defense that just keeps everything in front of them and hope their defensive front can come after the ball, led by their big defensive end, Nick Vaimoona. Rough name there. Trips out to the far side as Graham fumbles the snap. He has to fall on top of it as Austin Williams and Dylan Graham were the 2 men in the backfield there. And that is a continual theme that we see for this Vikings team as Giovanni Spinelli has another wild snap.
Yeah, definitely a continuing theme indeed. The center seems to be having some miscues there with Graham. This is not just the 1st or 2nd fumble. This is the 13th fumble that DVC's had in just their first 6 games now. Only very fortunate to only have lost 3 of those fumbles, but averaging around 3 fumbles per game. Definitely a theme with lack of ball security here.
Yeah, and a lot of those fumbles come off those bad snaps as the Vikings are put behind the original line of scrimmage. They'll face a 3rd and 12 from the 41-yard line here. Graham gets the snap, has some time to throw, rolling out to the right, and he tosses out to his check down. That's Williams. Williams catches the ball at the 45-yard line, diving down out to the 45 of the other side of the field, rather. And that's just a great job by the backup running back coming out here and showing why he is very useful coming back from injury.
Great job to keep those legs churning and get that first down. DVC not going with the routine of not converting those 3rd downs. I was going to say Graham had a wide open Dominic Dominguez in the middle of the field, which looked like for be a 15 to 20-yard gain, but great job there from the running back to keep those legs churning.
Trips to the far side in the pistol set. One more time from the near hash mark. Graham calls for the snap and he'll hand it off to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer up the gut, gets out to the 40-yard line on a gain of 4, and he'll make it 2nd and 6.
This looks to be exactly what Dar wants now. This Chabot defense is completely guessing here. DVC switching up every single play, it seems, with either a run, play action, even a rollout to the right side. And they do average 35 passes and rushes each game, so it looks to be an even set here from DVC.
Balance is the key for this Vikings offense as they come out in that pistol set. One more time, trips out to the far side of the field between the hash marks from the C of the DVC Vikings logo. They toss it out, and that's Dominic Dominguez catching on the bubble screen, makes a move between 2 defenders, and it'll be dropped very short of the line to gain, as he'll be dropped down at the 35-yard line of the Gladiators, and will make it 3rd and 1.
Couple great blocks there from the wide receivers on the left there from DVC. Unfortunately for the Vikings, there was one more Chabot defensive back there to be able to make the tackle, but good job from DVC to make it a 3rd and very, very manageable. What looks like a run up the gut's been working for a couple yards each time, so wouldn't be surprised here if Dar goes back to the wishing well.
And Sturgis Kofer will be that man once again in the backfield as the Vikings come out in that pistol spread from the far hash mark. And the heels of Graham will be set at the 40-yard line. Get the snap. They hand it off to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer breaks through the initial tackle, stiff-arming the defender out to the 25-yard line, and a great run and a pickup of 10 on the play as Sturgis Kofer shows his strength and shows why the Vikings trusted him to run the ball 3 times in the red zone last time out.
I mean, when you talk about the man to give the ball to in 3rd and short, this guy seems like the real deal. He's taken triple more than any other running back, absolute taking the load here, averaging about 25 carries per game, and it seems no signs of slowing down.
And he's picking up 5.8 average on those carries as well, as the Vikings come out with Dom Dominguez as well as Austin Williams as the backfield. They move Dominguez out to the flats, and they hand the ball off to Williams. Williams goes up the center one more time, and it looks like he'll get a gain of 3 on the play.
Looking at this Chabot defense here, not even just them guessing each play, but they're not really stacking the box as much anymore. They're taking a couple linebackers, putting them out to the right, definitely giving DVC an open lane. If they just get a couple blocks from that offensive line, you'll look to see maybe Chabot start to tighten it up in the middle here and put about 3 linebackers, 4. It's just stack 7 in the box because DVC is running all over them at the moment.
And the offensive line on the right side has been shuffled up as Christopher Strotter has moved out from right guard to right tackle, and the defensive line / offensive lineman DJ Johnson has moved to right guard. Snap is off. Graham has the ball, and he'll toss it out. It goes straight through the hands of Dominic Dominguez. Dominguez had some real estate in front of him if he could have caught that ball, but it'll make it a 3rd down and long.
Yeah, Dominguez had one defensive back, Holt Mossman, there closing in. He might have seen him in his sight and just lost concentration with the ball there. Not the worst case scenario, though, in the world. Still a 3rd and manageable here. Would be surprised if TVC ran the ball on this 3rd and 7 here, but the middle of the field's been wide open for the Vikings throughout this drive and the last one as well. A slant over the middle could work well, as it looks like Chabot's going to be setting up with a 0 safety in the middle backfield. Look for Dominguez to go over the middle, maybe for a slam.
Between the hash marks now, Graham will line up, and he'll face a 3rd and 7 from the 22-yard line of the Gladiators. 3-step drop, tossing it out, and it's caught by Sahagan. Sahagan diving down, catches it at the 11-yard line and gets down to the 8-yard line, and that is another blown coverage by the Chabot Gladiators team.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault the defensive line that much in that situation. Great push past the offensive line there. A couple of defensive tackles almost actually got to Graham that time, but what looked like that a little double move and a quick step by the receiver there, and 3 Chabot center backs all in the area were completely caught flat-footed.
So the Vikings are in that little boogeyman zone as they face 1st and goal now. We'll see if they can get in the end zone this time around as Graham from the far hash mark awaits the snap. Tosses it out to the left side to the short side of the field. It's caught by Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer cutting up inside into the end zone for a Vikings touchdown. Sturgis Kofer, 9-yard rush, breaks through multiple tackles and gets in for the Vikings' first touchdown of the day.
Couple of great blocks there on the outside from the receiver and the left tackle there. Sturgis Kofer also breaking a couple of tackles to get in the end zone there, but great call there from DVC, giving him a toss play, allowing him some momentum to gain from that sideline, and just an easy 8-yard run there from Sturgis Kofer.
9-7, the Vikings lead with 5:22 left in this first quarter of play, and the Vikings will look to see if they can cross the T on the PAT with Christopher Abbas. Abbas has not missed a single PAT this year. I'll knock on some wood so we don't get the good old broadcaster's jinx as this one's up. It was almost blocked, but he... Oh, no! They're going to say it went wide left, so I apologize to all the Vikings fans listening. I knocked on wood. I tried to stop the broadcaster's curse there, but unfortunately, it was a little too strong as Abbas misses his first PAT of the year.
Oh, sometimes it's just like that. Great push there, though, from Torrance Jr., the defensive back. Basically made the special teams non-existent on the blocker side for DVC. Ran right around. I'm surprised he didn't actually get a full hand on that one. Seems like he was right in front of the kicker.
I think he was just surprised on how fast he got up the field. He wasn't expecting to be there, so like on that's why the coaches tell you to finish out the gasser, run through all the way, because if you don't, then a play like that happens.
Yeah, unfortunate there. The perfect PAT season is over, but DVC still remains up 9-7, and with plenty of momentum on that offensive side.
So the Vikings will look to kick it off now. Christopher Abbas, after missing his first PAT of the season, puts the ball in between the hash marks at the 35-yard line, and he will be kicking it deep. Darren Wells is out there with Gennaro Crankfield. Taking some steps out to the far hash mark as the Vikings are kicking it left to right. Abbas takes a slow, steady jot up to the ball and booms it with the right leg. This one will be fielded short. He'll be fielded by Wells. Wells working his way out to the far side of the field, tries to cut around the edge, but it'll be wrapped down shy of the 25-yard line by a group of Viking defenders, so great coverage on the play as Shabot will come out for their second offensive drive of the game, starting out in between the 24 and the 25-yard line.
Good pursuit there from the Vikings special teams there to wrap him up at the 25-yard line. It'll be interesting to see what DVC comes out with this time on the defensive side. I would expect them to be a little bit more conservative on the passing side and have a couple cornerbacks play a few yards back instead of tight coverage there, and definitely expect the run maybe this time, as that 170-yard pass play from Chabot looks to be potentially opening up the run game big for this drive.
That's what the Vikings like to do, though. They like to send blitzes and play pressure across the board as Akaka gets the snap, and he hands it off this time to Viamau, as Viamau gets out to the far sideline, and it'll be brought down at the 29-yard line.
Great wrap-up there from Clements to prevent him from what looked like to be a first down gain. But DVC doing a good job there, at least. Chabot with a wealth of options right now, still playing back from that first drive. That's got to be in the head of this DVC defense still. 2nd and 6 as Akaka comes out from the far hash mark, and he'll hand the ball off one more time. This one's out to the Sea of the Vikings logo, making a way out to the 45-yard line, out to the 40, the 30, brought down inside of the 30-yard line, and that's another great run by Panove Viamau. He comes into this game having 57 rushes for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. This offense predominantly works with Akaka running the ball, but apparently the Vikings defense is not feeling quite so great coming off the bye week. Viamau, what looked like to be a run up the middle, bounced that to the outside away from his blockers, and the entire DVC secondary had shifted over to that right side of the field, expecting the run to the middle right. But great job to bounce out to the left side.
The running back in the backfield now is McGloin alongside Akaka as they flip the ball up, and it'll be out to Gennaro Crankfield as he got the ball on what looked like a double reverse.
Yeah, interesting play call there from Chabot. Looked to almost have worked well, but DVC read that perfectly. And actually, Clements almost intercepted that. If he was looking the right way, it seemed like the ball went right through his hands there. And Chabot barely got a yard there.
3:43 counting down. The Vikings are up 9-7. It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 26-yard line. A flag flies up as they go 1-to-1, man-to-man on the far side of the field, and the ball was tossed way too far over the top. And it'll likely be an offsides on the Vikings.
Hard to blame Akaka for throwing that one in the end zone. When you have a free play like that, you're able to get almost what seemed like the whole front line to jump off sides on the hard count. Good job there from Akaka. Good awareness to be able to just fire that one in the end zone. Doesn't hurt whether or not catches it or not. Good play there from Chabot.
2nd and 5 after the penalty now, as the Vikings are looking to stop the Gladiators before they're able to get into the red zone. From the 22-yard line of the Vikings, Akaka will line up in the shotgun, trips out to the near side of the field from the far hash mark as he's driving right to left. Akaka will keep it on the quarterback keeper. He's up the gut, has one man to beat, veering out to the far sideline. He'll stroll into the end zone, no problem whatsoever, taking a knee back there, and he'll get in for a 22-yard rushing touchdown.
Great read there from Akaka, not just to pull it back from Viamau and take it himself, but after he had that first down, great little stutter step there to beat the one cornerback that was left to tackle. And wow, Chabot already putting up 13, potentially 14 quick points here against this Viking defense.
And this game is looking a little different than we would have expected. We expected that the Chabot offense would come out guns blazing, as Paulo Rico rather is able to pin the second PAT on the board, making a 14-9 game with 3:27 left in this first quarter play. But like I was saying, the strength of this DVC team is actually on defense, getting a strong pass rush, really playing strong and stout in their front seven, and the backside giving up the big plays has been the common theme throughout the year. But I mean, this offensive line is just doing a tremendous job against the front seven of the Vikings, opening up lanes for their quarterback and the running backs.
Yeah, offensive line's doing a great job for Chabot, and it's you're going to have to fault a little bit the DVC secondary here, because whenever there has been a pass play, they've been beaten, and whenever there's even been a rush play, no one has been there to help and get off of those blocks that Chabot has. But yeah, DVC's defense has been the heart of this team, only giving up 20 points per game, and over half of that already given up, and not even the first quarter is over yet. DVC is going to have to buckle down and tighten up on those receivers and maybe get some push towards the offensive line.
Paulo Rico awaits the snap as it's a slightly breezy day in Pleasant Hill, California here, and the ball just got off the tee. Pablo Rico, the backup offensive lineman, out to kick it once more. Jotting up for it, and he'll boom it with the big right leg, and it'll be fielded by Prowse once again. Prowse gets it inside of the 15-yard line. He'll make a move out to the 20, holding the ball a little freely. He's lucky that ball didn't pop out the end of the play, but he got out to the 27-yard line, and that's when the Vikings offense will start for the third drive of the game.
Well, protecting that second fumble, and it could have been the second fumble at least in the first quarter there. DVC with that defense struggling, it's a bright hope, though, that they have their offense continuing to get down the field twice now. Maybe DVC potentially looking to open up that pass game a little more with Sturgis Kofor just pounding that Chabot defense. You could look for a couple deep shots for Graham to take.
And they elect to go with a four-man front again. They showed a five-man front at first, but they're going four-man now. So Sturgis Kofor will have an opportunity as Dominic Dominguez along with Sturgis Kofor are in the backfield with Graham. Two-back set, they hand it off to Sturgis Kofor. Sturgis Kofor works off the power play, out to the 35-yard line, jump cuts, and gets inside to the 36-yard line. A great pickup on first down will make it 2nd and 8 for Sturgis Kofor.
And this is exactly what DVC wants at the moment. I mean, you've got a running back like Sturgis Kofor able to just tear up this Chabot front seven. And when you do have a running back like that that's able to just consistently gain 6 to 7 yards each and every play, this should, and I'm surprised Dar hasn't taken a shot yet, but this should open up this pass game over the middle with all linebackers looking to commit to the run now.
Pardon me, 2nd and 2 after the 8-yard gain by Sturgis Kofor as they line up from the 36-yard line, driving left to right. Snap is off. Graham gets in. He'll swing it out to Dominic Dominguez. Dominic Dominguez trapped in his backfield trying to get to the line of scrimmage, but he was not able to as he'll be dropped for a loss of 4 on the play.
Jeremiah Famore, the defensive tackle for Chabot, looked to be blocked by the center and the left guard and ran through both of them there. Almost got a sack on Graham, but definitely got a big hit on Graham to the ground there, and DVC taking a loss on the play.
And Famore, one of the leading tacklers on this team from the defensive tackle position. It's kind of crazy to see, but the defensive end, Nick Viamaona, along with Jeremiah Famore, are two of the top tacklers on this team, which typically you see either the linebacker or the safeties taking that role. The Vikings will line up, stack 2 receivers out to the far side and the near side of the field in the pistol look. Sturgis Kofor alongside Graham as they hand the ball off to Sturgis Kofor. Sturgis Kofor had one man in front of him. He got chopped down, and that was a good tackle by the safety, Tyrone Simmons, coming up for his 15th tackle of the year. It'll make it 4th and short, and the Vikings elect to go out there and punt the ball.
This defensive line is getting quite the push on this drive. All 3 plays ran straight through that Viking offensive line. You could see Graham definitely wanted to stay out on the field there, go for it on 4th down. 4th and extremely short, just about 1 yard. DVC happens to not be that great on 4th downs. Don't fault the decision here from Dar, just 40% on the year. It is a long game, though. There's just 1 minute left in the first quarter, so no need to take a big risk here.
And play halts on the field for a second as the officials need to talk about something. It looks like the Vikings will have to make a substitution, as it looks like number 6 for them has to come off the field. Number 6 is the cornerback, Darrell Walker. So the Vikings switch up the punting game now as German Acosta takes over for Christopher Abbas. Abbas was holding down both duties, but now German Acosta will be the punter for the Vikings. David Gould comes in for the first time as the Vikings long snapper on the punt. He gets the snap off. German Acosta kicking it. It's a high spiraling punt. It'll be fielded inside of the 30-yard line as a fair catch is called down inside there, and they'll say it'll be a 1st and 10 for the 30-yard line with the steady hands of Darren Wells returning the punt.
Then it showed Graham had a little bit of frustration there on the sideline. I'm still talking to the quarterback coach right now. I understand, if you're the quarterback and, it's a 4th and short, you're at your own 39, you feel like you have a little bit of momentum, you feel like you can gain 1 yard on the ground. But at this point in time in the game,
it's just not worth the gamble.
Exactly. You could give Chabot great field position with this already firing offense right now.
And Akaka, the man to make the offense roll as he lines up in between the hash marks from the 30-yard line. They'll fake the jet sweep and they'll hand it up the gut. There's nowhere to go this time around for McGloin, as McGloin only gets about 2 on the play. So right there, the Vikings showed some stout defense and will look to continue that trend throughout the rest of this game.
Yeah, I would expect both defenses to start calming down here. It seems like both were a little bit frazzled from both offensive sets from each team, but now both defenses being able to get a push through that offensive line, and linebackers seeming to figure out.
Rolling out to the right this time is Akaka as he gets the ball out of the shotgun. It's tossed out to the far sideline. It's brought in by Richard Washington, the wide receiver who made that huge play on the very first offensive play of the game. Is he able to convert the chains for the 1st down? The clock continues to run even though the wide receiver got out of bounds, and it's looking like we'll come to the conclusion of the first quarter of play. 14-9, the DVC Vikings trail the Chabot Gladiators after 1 period of play. You're listening to DVC football here on the DVC Sports Network. Switching the sides of the field now as the Vikings come back out on defense, as Akaka leads his team on the field on offense for the Gladiators. They hand the ball off in the jet sweep, and this one goes out to Chris Washington as Chris Washington gets out to the far sideline. He's pushed out of bounds after a gain of about 7 on the play.
Wow, Washington a couple of yards away from being able to cut that one upfield. Great speed to get to the outside. But good job from that secondary, at least being able to get him for just about a 6-yard gain.
Driving left or right. And they'll face a 2nd and 10 here with 14:39 left in the second quarter of play. Up back off the left side of the offensive line as Akaka comes out in the pistol set. They'll hand the ball up the gut this time around, and McGloin gets the ball once more, getting to the line again, as we'll wait to see if it's going to be a 3rd and short or if they'll give him a 1st down. Waving the hand, it will be a 1st down on the play. And so it'll be a 1st and 10 inside of Vikings territory from the 49-yard line.
Wow, generous spot there from the refs. Looked like he was stopped to be about a yard short there, but looks like they'll give him the nose of the football on that one.
1st and 10 from the 49-yard line of the Vikings, as they've come into the set now, having the having the up back. That's Emerson Freeman off the left side of the offensive line. They'll hand the ball off one more time, being wrapped up in the backfield, and then a gang of Viking tacklers stack him up at the line of scrimmage, and there'll be a gain of 0, making it 2nd and 10.
DVC read that one perfectly. Although they did bring one of their linebackers off the edge on the wrong side, it was a great job from that defensive end to be able to initially get the hit on him just to slow slow down McGlown. But great job from DVC. Seems to be picking up a little bit better on this Chabot run game. But the real question is if they'll be able to pick up on that pass game, because right now Akaka's been having his way with that defensive secondary.
And Ativa Mauga Clemens has been spying the quarterback Akaka this whole entire game. That'll be a continual trend as Akaka gets a snap, taking a 3-step drop, looking deep down the field, way too far over the top. The ball was tossed down out to the 11-yard line. His receiver was at the 15-yard line as he was covered, double coverage on the play by the Vikings, and it'll bring up a 3rd and long.
You know, that speedy Chris Washington had both defenders beat, but I can't blame Akaka that much on the throw, because Washington seemed to just stop in his tracks when the ball was thrown. If he had kept running, it would have been perfectly placed. It seemed almost as a timing throw there, and Washington had just stopped 5 yards short.
From the V of the DVC Vikings logo near the near hash mark, the Gladiators will work trips out to the left as they run a counter play, but this one sniffed out once again as Ativa Mauga Clemens is the man to make the stop, and they'll bring up the first time that the Gladiators have to punt this game.
Chabot looked to be trying to get in that tempo offense of theirs. Not quite a quick hurry-up offense, but definitely one that keeps DVC guessing each play. DVC, though, able to penetrate each time past that offensive line, and Chabot finally getting off the field, or DVC's defense finally getting off the field here, able to give their offense the ball back with a chance to take the lead.
And if you're a Vikings fan, you'll hope the score stays at 14-4, the Chabot Gladiators, for the rest of this game, as Akaka is actually the quarterback and the punter as the snap goes high. It's over the top of the head. Akaka can't get on top of it as the Vikings recover the ball, and they'll be fiddled down at the 22-yard line.
An incredibly high snap there from the center. You'd think it was just DVC that had issues with the center snap, as a flag is on the field here. But the snap way over Akaka's head, and Akaka unable to fall on the ball, giving a couple more yards to DVC, giving him up at the 22-yard line now.
Oh my goodness, that was just great coverage, blitzing off the edge, trying to go for that ball, but fortunately for them, they didn't even have to try to block the kick. They just took the ball straight off the ground. The Vikings will be set up with a golden opportunity from the 21-yard line.
You know, Chabot is very fortunate there, though, that it's just at the 22.
Yeah, not inside the end zone.
Exactly. I mean, you never really see punters, although he is a quarterback, fall on the ball. They always try and pick it up, run with it, pick it up, try and get a punt off at least, but unable to fall on the ball there, in DVC in prime field position.
And a new fold in this DVC offense as they bring Dominic Dominguez into the backfield. So the Vikings will come out with a 2-back set. Sturgis Kofer off the right hip from the near hash mark. It looks like this time Nick Visser will be in the game as Visser keeps the ball himself, and the backup quarterback is able to get near the first down yardage.
You've almost got like a Taysom Hill type of offense that Dar's showing right now, with the quarterback in for just one run. Interesting to see what the flag is here, but good switching up of the plays there from Coach Dar, and able to definitely keep this Chabot defense on its toes.
Flags fly on the field, and will likely be a holding call on the Vikings offense. And this is one thing I hate from football. I hate seeing drives stop because of a holding call. Make it a 5-yard penalty, make it competitive still. That's just one thing that is really one of my pet peeves.
It looks to be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on the Chabot defense.
Oh, well.
No halt in the drive there, but
I'll eat my words right over there as the Vikings line up once again with Nick Visser. Visser will be the quarterback here as he was replaced Graham after the bye week. Let's see if this is just a set or if he actually has taken over the reins here for this Vikings team as they line up with an upback this time. The defensive end, Ravina Sali, lines up in the backfield alongside Sturgis Kofer. So Visser off the left hip is Nasali, and Sturgis Kofer will be behind him in between the hash marks at the 11-yard line. Visser gets a low snap. It'll be a quarterback keeper once again into the end zone for a touchdown. Quarterback keeper up the gut, 2 rushes, and Nick Visser puts the Vikings up.
Wow, great read there again from a backup quarterback. It's very unlikely as it looks like Visser is incredibly pumped up now on the sideline, but it's hard to really see a backup quarterback come into the game and make reads like that quickly. And Graham showing some great supportiveness right there, being incredibly overjoyed for the backup Visser.
15-14, the Vikings lead with 11:54 left. And Visser, despite the fact that he is the backup and Graham has gotten the lion's share of the snaps this year, has come in certain situations as the snap is up, the kick is up. And this time around, Abbas is able to cross the T on the PAT. Pardon me, that's actually German Acosta, so possibly something wrong with with Abbas there as the Vikings go up 16-14. But like I was saying before, we saw it in that Sierra game where Visser came into the game in the second half of play because the offensive line wasn't quite able to get their blocks. And so with the continual struggles and the shifting of offensive line and defensive linemen starting on the O-line of the Vikings, it looks like they'll just decide to go with the more mobile quarterback.
Yeah, we'll have to see from now on. It doesn't look like Graham has any injuries. Looking at him on the sideline right now, looks to be moving fine and in all good spirits. Could have been something from that last drive. He was very unhappy with the punt on 4th and 1. It could have been a disciplinary issue. You don't really know until after the game. But great job there. Great read from Visser again. Almost baffled at the fact that he's able to make these types of plays just so fresh into the game, even though he has played against Sierra. Great job there to read the defense and pull that back from Sturgis Kofor, who seems, he's a sure thing running back in the red zone, but great job there to keep it himself and run right through those linebackers for a nice 10-yard score. Acosta
will line up for the kick, so it looks like Christopher Abbas, who has handled the kicking duties since week 1, will unfortunately be sidelined here. So we'll see. That's why you have 2 kickers on the roster as Acosta jotting forward, and he'll kick it off with the big left leg. This one will be fielded inside of the 5-yard line, fielded at the 5-yard line, making its way out from the far hash mark, trying to make a move at the 20-yard line. There's nowhere to go as the return man, Darren Wells, despite having some great returns early on this game, will be taken down shy of the 25.
Chabot's special teams there was basically nowhere to be found. I'm a little bit confused as to why the 4 blockers there had just completely lost any sort of Viking to be able to block. It definitely left them paying the price to start behind their 25-yard line.
Darrell Wells hobbles off the field gingerly as he's trying to get a little bit of jog on, but that's a defensive back missing for the Chabot defense, so we'll see what he's able to do. Maybe it's just a cramp or a twist of an ankle. We'll see if he comes back into this game. But now, from the 25-yard line, so I said it was shy of the 25, but they'll mark it right at the 25, and Akaka lines up in the pistol set. Akaka will roll out this time around, has a man in front of his face, cutting up the field. He'll break through 1 tackle, continuing to run out to the far sideline, out to the 30, and push out of bounds hard over the top. Oh my goodness, the Vikings have a late hit there, and it's possibly going to be a targeting call as more flags continue to fly there. And Akaka, this is what he does. He extends plays, he gets out there, he uses his big physical frame to get out there and rush the ball in.
Yeah,
this is 101 Akaka time.
Yeah, looks to have a great low center of gravity there, good elusiveness, speed, acceleration, kind of using all the attributes there to be able to gain not only 8 yards, what looked like gain a roughing the passer penalty, potentially targeting. Poor from that Vikings defense. Almost seemed out of frustration there from unable to wrap him up behind the line. Again, great push from that front 7 to be able to initially get the hit on it, but no one able to bring Akaka down. I was about to say that I was surprised that Shabot hadn't been using his running ability, but he'd use it himself there besides the play call, and a great gain there from Akaka.
And good sportsmanship by Akaka. He lines up and shakes the hands of some defenders for the Vikings, so you can't fault him for that. High character man.
Yeah, and Chain's still not moving yet. Not even a second down signal yet. I'm wondering if they picked up the flag.
So we'll see. It should be a late hit out of bounds call, but they might just say it was a bang play. Waiting for the officials now. So it is a late hit out of bounds, a personal foul. Trying to get the call here. So, that's what it is. It's a dead ball penalty, so it'll be offsetting penalties, and it'll be second down after the gain of 9 on the play by Akaka.
Yeah, correction. I think I had said roughing the passer earlier, but yeah, late hit out of bounds on Akaka. But boy, that is an uncharacteristic penalty there from Chabot to get unsportsmanlike conduct after gaining the 15 yards in the first place.
Well, so it'll be 2nd and 1 from the 34-yard line as Akaka, driving left to right, will motion his receiver across the field. Chris Washington is listed as a wide receiver, but he hasn't had a single catch this season. He has had 9 carries for 60 yards, though, predominantly on those jet sweep motions.
Yeah, had 2 men beat last drive, but stopped about 5 yards short.
Akaka hands the ball off this time around. He'll go to VML as VML gets past the line again, and he gets all the way down to the 43-yard line. And this is something that we haven't really seen with this with the Chabot offense. It's typically Akaka running the ball, but they're twin running backs right over there, McGloin and Viamau, have really ripped the Vikings defense apart.
That right there was the definition, although it was just a 6-yard gain of running downhill.
Akaka will roll out to his right, having some time to throw it as he zips it out, and it'll be caught at the 44-yard line, or the 46-yard line of the Vikings. And that's a reception this time around. We talked about it. Chris Washington right there with his first reception of the season, and he'll move the chains, making it 1st and 10 for his offense.
That might be the 3rd time there's been announcers jinx in just this one game. But great job there from Akaka to roll out. Perfect little sidearm pass there to Washington. Good pitch and catch, and able to pick up the 1st down.
VML will be in the shotgun from the near hash mark alongside Akaka. 10:34 left. The Vikings are up 16-14, and there'll be a read option this time around, and there'll be a ball fumbled on the ground. Chance Akaka was able to get on top of it, but that'll be a huge loss on the play and make it 2nd and extremely long. So that's also what happens when you have an athletic quarterback. He always wants to keep the ball, so when you have a mesh point with him and VML on the zone read, it's just sometimes both of them get greedy and they cough the ball up on a fumble.
Yeah, Kaka there, at least, I mean, he fell on the ball this time, but 3 fumbles total start this game. 2 of them from Chabot's count, but none other than that punt lost. So Akaka here, I would look for him to maybe open up that passing game a little bit because the run game now seems to be a little bit frazzled.
Akaka lines up in the shotgun once again. It'll be a 3-step drop, stepping up in the pocket, rolling out to his left-hand side, and he's tackled hard from behind. And that's Ravina Sali coming up for a sack on the play, and it'll make it 3rd and incredibly long, 3rd and 20 for the Chabot Gladiators offense.
You know, for Chabot having 2 fumbles this game, I'm surprised that one wasn't the 3rd. Akaka was not holding that ball that securely.
He laid that ball over the top.
And, I mean, it wasn't only a 1-yard loss on the sack there, but good momentum switch from this DVC defense after having a scramble from Akaka there for 8 yards and a penalty. It seems like after that unsportsmanlike conduct, they've able to simmer down a bit.
2 safeties over the top for the Vikings defense as Akaka rolls out to his left-hand side, flips the hips, tosses it out, and it's caught at the 40-yard line, tiptoeing on the sideline, making the catch. And that is number 26, Tanner Wright, on the catch. That's his 16th catch of the season. And this is a number we talked about earlier. So Tanner Wright averages 17.3 average yards per catch. That says a lot. Yeah,
I mean, it seems like he's a little bit of a deep threat as except of a short-term one. I don't fault Chabot here for going for it on 4th down. I mean, you're at that point where you can't really punt, can't really kick a field goal, but they are just 13% on the year, 1 of 8.
So the snap is off, and Akaka will keep it. He's pressured, rolling out to his left, flipping the hips, tossing it deep down the field. Has a man there if he can get there. And the Vikings defense is able to get to the ball as a pass interference call will be called over the top. And on 4th down, it looks like the Vikings will have another penalty. And this one will likely keep the Gladiators offense on the field.
I'd really have to fault the defensive back Larks there, Matthew Larks. Not only was he beat, but it looked like he had just stopped playing for about 2 seconds there as Akaka seemed like he could be taken down for a sack. And then he failed to even look up. That's an easy call for the refs there when you have a guy that's not even looking at the ball, just hands raised, not really playing the ball.
Yeah, you just have to turn your head in that situation, really.
Exactly, and luckily this isn't NFL where it's spot of the foul, but still 15 yards is a killer, especially for a team like Chabot. Again, as I had said, 1 of 8 on 4th downs this year. Brutal, and another blown play there from Chabot. Just Akaka, good wits and awareness to just huck it up and hope for the best, and his prayer was answered with a penalty on this defensive DVC.
And we had a stat before the game that you were talking about with the average yardage of penalties for the Vikings. Do you have that pulled up real quick?
Yeah, I mean, DVC, Chabot as well, both teams averaging over 100 yards of penalties each game. DVC, without that offsetting penalty, would already be up to 40. But DVC not great with keeping intact with the penalties, most of them on defense. It'll be interesting to see how they can kind of quiet that down a bit and stop giving away free yards to each team.
1st and 10, Akaka gets the snap on the far hash mark, and he'll hand it off this time to VML. VML runs into the back of his offensive lineman as he goes forward for a gain of 6 on the play. So it'll be in the red zone. And let's see what the Chabot offense continues to do with 8:22 left in this 2nd quarter of play.
I mean, you can't say much more than an immediate momentum switch there. DVC's defense was firing on all cylinders, and Chabot was the exact opposite. And that one pass interference play has completely switched the tides.
And they'll run a power off the left side of the line as they hand the ball to VML one more time as he runs, cutting it back off the backside of his right guard. And that was Antonio Hernandez there clearing the way for another 1st down So the Vikings are really needing to bite down on the mouthpiece and stop this right now if they look forward to holding on to their 16-14 lead with 8 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah, and if I'm the DVC defense here, I wouldn't be too – I don't want to, announcers jinx it, but I wouldn't be too worried about the passing game here. The running game's been working great, and I wouldn't be surprised here if Akaka pulls it and runs it with just 15 yards to go.
Motioning Crankfield across the formation, 5-step drop, looking towards the back of the end zone this time around, and the ball was thrown way too high over the top. And Akaka is a great athlete. He can really rocket the ball, but so far today in the deep balls, aside from the first play of the game, he's really overthrown his receivers.
I mean, definitely with a lack of space here now being in the red zone. Chabot also not that great when it comes to the red zone for touchdowns, just 7 of 18, unable to just punch into the end zone. But surprising call there on first down to throw when you've got an agile athlete like Akaka able to pull it and run for only 17 yards to go for the end zone. And a running game working great. Surprising to throw it.
Jet sweep motion. They hand the ball off this time to Crankfield. Crankfield trying to get to the far sideline. He's nowhere to go there. He'll be dropped for another loss in the play. And that's one thing the Vikings have done very well today. They've really shown that outside contain when they've tried to go on the toss plays, trying to go with the jet sweep motions. And it'll be 3rd and long for this Gladiators offense now.
Yeah, no Chabot blocker to be found as Ronnie Preston just absolutely sprinted through the gap and able to drop him for no gain on the play. But now Chabot, with that running offense working great, is now forced to pass with limited amount of space in the red zone.
Back up the left side of the offensive line as Akaka lines up with the running back in the backfield. It'll be a handoff this time around, getting his way out to the far side of the field, cutting it up at the numbers. It'll be brought down at the 11-yard line as VML gets another carry. And we'll see if we see the field goal unit from Chabot here as a shift comes out to the field. So let's see what the offensive lineman playing kicker has to do. Paulo Rico has 1 field goal on the year for a 21-yard field goal.
Yeah, looking at him in warm-ups, he seemed to be hitting 30-yard field goals pretty easily. This just around 28 yards.
So this time around, the kick will be up, and no, it looked like it went good from my angle, but it went wide left. So the Vikings defense will hold out despite the penalty, despite giving up some big plays there. They will kick the Chabot offense and special teams off the field, and they'll come back on offense, lining up 1st and 10 from just about the – where are they going to mark this one down at? At the 15-yard line?
Yeah, let's
not
see
the
that
20-yard line.
But boy, that was a low snap, fumbled by the holder, but poor from the center there. That's the 3rd bad snap from special teams and offense combined. Poor there from Chabot, poor execution on the field goal attempt there, and the red zone struggles continue for this team. Just 6 of 18 now, punching it into the end zone, and red zone scores under 60%.
And the Vikings come out this time around with Dylan Graham. Visser was the quarterback in the last drive, and Graham will line up from the 20-yard line. Gets the snap, hands the ball to Williams, as Williams has a good, strong run off the middle of the offensive line as he gets out of the 25-yard line, making it a 2nd and 5.
And going back to that last Chabot drive, I mean, it's hard to question. You can't not question, really, the coaching there. You had the running game working perfectly down the field, thanks to a couple penalties, but still the QB keep and Viamu boarding perfectly down the field, and then just completely switch the calls.
Trips out to the far side, or to the near side of the field now as the Vikings work right to left, and another stoppage on the play. Waiting to see what the officials call. And there's a timeout on the field as the chain crew just needs to get some things worked out on that far side of the field.
And for this upcoming drive for DVC, taking a look at it, this Chabot defense giving up already 16 points, not even the first half's over yet. It's hard to think how they would be able to call any sort of plays with that run-pass option there. But from DVC's standpoint here, with 5:44 to go, I'd look to be a slow tempo drive, just kind of milking the clock, not giving Chabot any chance, barring they do score, Chabot a chance with getting the ball at halftime as well.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. We saw Visser with, you could actually run that read option with Visser in the offense, but this time around Graham is out there, so it'll be a more traditional spread offense from this Vikings team when he comes back around, as you're still waiting for the chain crew to fix things up. But I want to take this time right over here to talk about J.J. Hunter, the original right tackle for the Vikings. He had a pulmonary embolism on the first day of the bye week, so he had 3 blood clots in his lungs. So that's the reason why the Vikings have had to have so many shifts on the field. Fortunately for him and the rest of the staff, they were able to come out here and catch it early. So he seems to be fine, but he'll be out for the rest of the season. But that's just something to know as the Vikings really have to shift around their offensive line. They have to move a defensive lineman over to offensive line to play guard now. And DJ Johnson, Christopher Strotter moves out to the right side of the line. So that's just one of the things that happened in the bye week for the Vikings.
Wow, you hate to see that, especially in a week where you should be getting a little bit of rest for the rest of the season.
I mean, you're just happy to hear that he's healthy because
exactly.
A blood clot in your lung, especially finding 3 of them, that is just a scary situation. And those are the times that it goes beyond football. You're just hoping for the health of the young man that plays on this field. So after they finally fixed the chains, somebody yelled put a zip tie on it, so let's see if they put a zip tie on it. But it'll be 2nd and 5 with 5:44 left in this second quarter of play. The Vikings are up 16-4 as they're driving right to left between the hash marks. Graham will line up at quarterback. Williams will be in the backfield alongside him. They'll hand the ball off to the right side of Williams this time. Williams cutting back behind the line of scrimmage, and we'll see if he got any yardage there. As they say, he got a gain of 2 on the play, so it'll be a 3rd down and looks to be 3 for this Vikings offense.
Yeah, nothing bad there from DVC. Again, it looks like Dar is going with this slow tempo offense to try and at least end this first half. They can pick up a 1st down here, milk some more time off the clock. DVC, they don't necessarily have to get out of bounds here. Plays over the middle have been wide open with only 1 safety back. DVC's quarterback Graham could look to pull this one from Sturgis Kofor and maybe get something over the middle.
Sturgis Kofor will line up in the backfield after he shifts in for Williams as a blitz comes off the left side. 3-step drop, looking for the fade route on 3rd and short, and that's tossed way too far over the head. Dominic Dominguez cannot adjust for the ball, and so the Vikings will have to punt from the 28-yard line. Talk about a gutsy call. They're going for the fade route on 3rd and short.
I mean, good play, at least good execution, just missing the throw there. Dominguez had his man beat on a step. Graham just unable to put the ball in there, but Shabot could be facing some good field position here for this next drive upcoming, and DVC's defense is going to have to come out on the field and make a stand.
And I can't get a number on the return men, but last time out, Darren Wells had a hurt leg, and so Gennaro Crankfield this time around will come to return the ball. Off the right leg of German Acosta. Acosta is taking over the punting and kicking duties now as we saw Christopher Abbas, the normal kicker for the Vikings, be carted off the field. So no word on what the injury is, but Chabot taking the time out here. But yeah, so the Vikings will have to go with their backup kicker and punter now.
Yeah. Acosta seems to have been not a poor addition to be picked up on this team. He seems to be doing his duties well, but DVC's defense here, a couple things I would want to look at for them is, one, to put as much pressure as Akaka as they can. Akaka has been very elusive, a very, very strong threat in the running game now is shown. In the first quarter, not as much as more the passing game was implemented, but now with this DVC defense having to account for a run, for a pass, for even what seems to be a jet sweep every now and then. I'd like to see some pressure put at least from this front 7 and definitely wrap him up when they have the opportunity and stop letting him, slip through their fingers.
4:59 left in the second quarter of play. 16-14, the Vikings are up as they're forced to punt it with their backup punter, German Acosta. The man back deep is Gennaro Crankfield for the Gladiators. No rush as Acosta takes his sweet time punting the ball up. Will be fielded down at the 40-yard line, taking a Vikings bounce, and the bounce continues to roll down all the way down to the 26-yard line. So despite the fact that it bounced short, the Vikings will flip the field with their backup kicker, and the Gladiators will come out one more time with Chance Akaka.
Wow, Acosta with over a 50-yard punt on that one thanks to a generous bounce there, but proven huge for this DVC defense now without having to deal with just giving up about 60 yards, but now Shabot having to go a normal length of the field from a touchback.
So Akaka comes out, and McGloin will be the running back in the backfield alongside him. 2 receivers out to the near side of the field as they work left to right in their yellow jerseys. Calling for the snap, gets the snap. It'll be a handoff up the middle one more time. And McGloin will break through the original tackler as he continues to carry a defender all the way out to the 30-yard line. So that was a great second effort by the sophomore running back.
Yeah, DVC, the story with this defense has been unable to get the actual tackles. They're able to get a couple first hands on them, but being able to bring them down has been a huge issue for them.
Up back off the left side of the offensive line as they motion Janair Crankfield, and they hand the ball off on a power run on the right side. And this time around, the Vikings are able to secure a tackle as two defenders come over the top. And Darren Walker will be the man on the tackle there, but unfortunately, it'll be a first down, or there'll be enough yardage for a first down as Seha and Darrell Walker come together for a tackle.
Well, they did get the first down. Akaka might be kicking himself on that one. He had a wide open Richard Washington. Well, it was going to be wide open. He already had beaten his man in an open field ahead. If Akaka had waited one more second and kept it, he would have had would look to be a touchdown.
In between the hash marks from the 35-yard line, Akaka will motion Gennaro Crankfield one more time. The Vikings will play a man-to-man defense as Akaka keeps it this time around. He's brought down high and low. Two defenders swarm on top of him, but Akaka is able to rip off a 13-yard gain on the play and make it 1st and 10 from the 49-yard line of the Gladiators.
Wow, great read there from Akaka. Makes up for what seemed to be a poor read on the last play, but great job. Ignoring the jet sweep and the handoff there, able to go up the gut for about 15 yards.
The Vikings jump off sides here, so it's a free play looking down the field, and he has a man in deep coverage there, and the Vikings play good defense on the free play as the man on the coverage was who we talked about last time around, Matthew Larks, coming off of injury, coming back into this game. But unfortunately for him and his DVC defense, it'll be a 5-yard penalty on the play.
Wow, Akaka, after this penalty here, Akaka, one thing that we've talked about the most with him is this speed that he has, this elusiveness and the arm that he has. But one thing is his wits. He's able to make these reads and able to pull the ball when he can, but also just the awareness of knowing that you have a free play and just take a deep shot. Very smart from Akaka there to be able to give at least Chabot a chance to get a score on a free play like that.
2nd and 5 from the Vikings territory from the 46-yard line from the far hash mark. Akaka will line up in that pistol set. He'll hand the ball off one more time and breaking through the first initial wave of tacklers, carrying a pile out to the 40-yard line, and that's McGlown one more time.
Chabot really implementing some downhill running here as this run game has completely been blown wide open for this offense. DVC looks a little bit shambled on what to do here. From this standpoint, it seems like they just got to keep stacking the box and hope to stop the run.
Shotgun this time for Akaka as he rolls out, sprinting out right, and he'll look to run it himself, taking it out to the 40 and then drop down at the 39-yard line. A gain of about half a yard on the play as he's a little slow to get up, but that's some disciplined play from the DVC defense right over there. They had coverage over the top, and the pressure got into the face of Akaka, forcing him to bring it in and only pick up half a yard on the play.
Good tackle there. What looked to be a face mask from this view. It looks like he got the shoulder pad there. Good no call from the officials to not give Chabot the first down off of that. But Akaka looks to be a little bit shaken up on that play. That could impact that run-pass option there, and we'll see.
Akaka gets the snap out of the shotgun set, hit hard as the ball flies up, and the ball was, it flew all the way down to the 4-yard line as Akaka was absolutely destroyed on that play. It looked like number 31 coming off the edge for the Vikings was the man on the quarterback pressure.
Yeah,
Zane Cribb, the defensive back.
Great pressure there, and poor from the left tackle there, not protecting Akaka's blind side as much as it should have been. It seems like he didn't even sense him coming. Good job being able to get the throw off. If it was a half second late, it could have been a fumble.
6'2", 300-pound left tackle there as Akaka flips around. He holds his leg as he goes down on the play, chucking the ball up. It'll be 3rd down, and a ball is thrown away, and we'll see if Akaka can get up there.
Seems like for the past 4 plays now, Akaka's been on the ground, whether it's from a hit, a massive hit, or an even bigger hit from DVC. It seems like DVC is able to get a ton of pressure through this offensive line. Chabot might look to slow the tempo down, at least for next drive now, as he'll be the punter on the play.
And yeah, this is pretty interesting to see. The backup quarterback, Islam, is not playing in this game. So if Akaka goes down, they're out a punter as well as a quarterback.
Yeah, luckily right now for Chabot, the half is coming to a close, so they'll be able to give him a rest and take a timeout here. But Chabot, luckily, if this half did go on, or even going into the second half, they may look to slow this tempo down. Usually not being that slow tempo of a team as their time of possession's under 25 minutes. They're used to not having the ball as much, but they do get the majority of the wins in their schedule. But Chabot may look to slow it down a little bit here to give him some time to rest.
Yeah, and last game out, their time of possession was almost half of what West Hills City College had. West Hills had the ball for 39 minutes and 45 seconds, and Chabot 20 minutes and 15 seconds. So they are definitely a big, explosive offense, and they'll run the clock all the way down to 1 second before taking the timeout to run as much time off the clock in the second quarter of play, as we have 2:01 remaining with the Vikings having a 16-14 lead.
Yeah, and one thing that could be a telltale is many people look at the time of possession, they'd think, oh, Chabot has, a third of the time of possession. There's no way they would able to be executing on offense. But literally the first play of the game was a 70-yard touchdown pass. I mean, it's hard to say from a team standpoint when you don't have the ball that much how you can actually dominate the game, but you see plenty of teams in college football do this all the time when you don't have the ball as much, but you're able to just dominate so quickly on offense. It gives that defense no time to rest, no time to sub, no nothing, as Chabot looks to be going for it here on fourth down.
So they'll flip it and go for it from the 39-yard line. So Akaka will come at quarterback now as McGloin is in the backfield.
Could look for a quick kick here, Akaka being the punter.
Yeah, and it looks like it will be that pooch kick as it's almost blocked. It'll be bounced down at the 10-yard line, taking a nice bounce, fielded at just about the 7-yard line. So a good little bit of execution there for the Gladiators offense as they down the ball at the 7-yard line, and the Vikings will have a full field to be driven down with 1:53 left in the second quarter of play.
Yeah, it seemed like a quick kick could have been coming there, especially with an Akaka, a guy that is the punter for the team. Yeah. So good quick kick there, good execution, good bounce, everything really working on that fourth down. Good call there from Chabot. If I'm DVC here, with 1:53 to go and a couple of timeouts on your side, you do have a chance to get down the field, but with a different kicker like Acosta, you may want to take it slow, but as I say that, they've got 5 receivers out.
There you go. Spread formation and empty set for Dylan Graham as Dylan Graham lines up in the shotgun. Shotgun snap is off, looking down the field. He'll run it up the gut this time around as Graham runs all the way down. He's hit down hard at the 15-yard line, and a flag flies in at the end of the play, and that'll be a late hit on the quarterback.
Yeah, that was an extremely late flag. I was looking straight after that play to the official on the sideline, and he had not even motioned for his flag. Yeah, a signal could have gone down there. Mike Darr could have, right next to him on the sideline. You never know what a coach like him could potentially say to an official, but extremely late flag there on the late hit. They could pick it up, though.
Christopher Strader, he's showing his dance moves on the far hash mark there as he was super excited.
And it looks like they are going to pick the flag there.
Yeah, so hopefully those dance moves don't weigh down the 450-pound right tackle, or 415-pound right tackle. 6'7", 415 pounds. Christopher Strader is a big man out there.
DVC's got to be a little bit careful here. They seem to be there's no fear right now in this passing game, but inside your own 20.
As Graham gets the snap off, he pitches it out to his wide receiver as the ball is caught at the 20-yard line, and Roman Sahagan's able to convert the chains as the clock will begin after the chains are set, and the Vikings will need to go in a hurry up. A timeout might be called on the field as we await the call from the officials. So a correction on the game clock here as it'll be shifted from 1:25 to 1:30, and the Vikings are up 16-14. And they'll continue to show this spread offense right over here. From the near hash mark, Graham in the empty set will call for the ball. Graham, not even taking a step, gets the ball to the 25-yard line, continuing to break 2 defenders with him and continuing to push the ball. It's going to take 5 different defenders from Chabot to bring the man down, and that's John Giagiari III. Giagiari III had a homecoming game, or had a huge game last time out as he caught the overtime touchdown to win the game for the Vikings. And this time he shows the physicality as he moves the ball all the way down to the 34-yard line. 1 minute left in this second quarter play, and Graham will come out in the empty set one more time. Graham will get it back out to Giagiari as Giagiari is able to get out of bounds after a gain of just about 7 on the play.
Yeah, DVC abusing these sidelines now. Chabot is just giving them 7 or 8 yards every single time. And when you're on your own own 10-yard line starting. You want to get some pressure on the quarterback, and when they're unable to do that, DVC just able to use these sidelines to the extent of continuous 7 to 8 yard plays. It adds up after a time, and now they're at midfield with plenty of time and a couple timeouts on their side.
2nd and 8 with 56.7 left in the second quarter of play as Sturgis Cofer comes in the backfield and a pistol set for the Vikings. Graham calling for the snap. It's a low snap, and we'll give it off to Sturgis Cofer. Sturgis Cofer working off the far side of the field at the 4 hash mark, and he runs over a defender, will be brought down at the 46-yard line. A flag will fly in at the end of the play, and this one's looking like it'll probably come back as a holding call is likely to come on the Vikings.
Yeah, it looked like a holding call. It could even be called as a face mask. It looked like he might have got part of the face mask of the linebacker, Kaylani, but they're just going to give it a holding call there. A big setback from DVC as they were just moving the ball at will.
And so they call the ball a holding on number 54. The defensive lineman transitioning, offensive line playing right guard in DJ Johnson.
If I'm Dar here, I really wouldn't take my foot off the gas pedal there. Everything seemed to be working. While 2nd and 11 is a bit of a setback, I would not be surprised if he doesn't keep coming out firing different throws down the sideline again.
Spread pistol from the 4 hash mark as it's the 2nd and 11. The clock continues to turn with 40 seconds left. Graham gets the snap, taking a 3-step drop, rolling out to his left, flips the ball up. It's tipped up, and it'll be an incomplete pass. 32.7 seconds left as the Vikings have a 16-14 lead, but they'll likely, I don't know what they're going to do in this situation. If they're just going to try to run the ball and the clock out, force another a last time out from the Gladiators, or what they're going to elect to do.
It is tough. This was the risk that that I was talking about when you run from when there's less than 2 minutes to go and you've got to go 90 yards essentially to get a touchdown here. DVC could look to just keep the ball in play and force Chabot to call a timeout, but it's tough when you have a team like Chabot with that offense getting the ball in the second half.
From the far hash mark, Graham will line up in that, trips out to the near side of the field in the pistol set. Sturgis Cofer's in the backfield. Graham will take a 3-step drop, looking deep down the field, has one man out there, tripped up from behind. It looks like the legs will be crossed up. And with 25.6 seconds left in the second quarter of play, the Vikings will have to send out their backup punter, German Acosta, to punt the ball away.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Graham had a receiver open there and just unable to find him, just like before with Dominguez. But DVC definitely had a great drive putting together. Holding calls, as you had said before, just ruined drives. In that situation, it was exemplified perfectly. DVC just got to hope for not a big return, and Chabot should take a kneel on this and send it to the half.
25.6 left as it looks like number 3, Gennaro Crankville, will come out as the return man once again. It's a slowly delivered punt as it's a low line drive punt. It'll be fielded at the 30-yard line. It'll be a fair catch made there, as actually it's Darren Walls coming back into the game after having a lower extremity injury earlier in the game. And we'll see if they decide to just take a few shots down the field and call it a day, or maybe just Akaka taking a knee.
Yeah, I mean, with Akaka being banged up in that last drive, I'd be very surprised to see them other than just take a knee and get into the half. They do get the ball in the second half. There's not much more you can ask for there. If they were to do anything, I would assume just a run of the middle, but it looks like this is kneel formation. They'll just take this one to the half.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. He might actually fumble the ball because Akaka's not used to taking the snap under. You actually see a lot of teams go in that kneel formation in the shotgun just because that's their offense. They run it out of the shotgun. You never take a snap from under center. But all that comes for nothing because he gets the easy snap, takes a knee, and the Vikings will take a 16-14 lead into the half. It's been a fun game here in Viking Stadium to kick off this Big 6 conference season. As the clock rings down, we'll take a quick break before coming back and chopping up what happened in the first half of play. You're listening to, or you're tuned in to the DVC Sports Network. Vikings are up 16-14. 15 minutes left in the halftime period here as the Vikings take a 16-14 lead. Shabot will get the ball back on offense to kick off the second half of play. But until then, let's talk about the flow of this game. The Vikings came out there. They got great opening field position on an amazing return to kick things off, and then they stalled in the red zone, and they had to kick a field goal. So it was 3-0.
Yeah, and then the Chabot offense,
first
firing
play
on all cylinders is an understatement there. I mean, just one pass, one play, 70 yards, touchdown from Akaka there. Great. I remember it was a great rollout. Fooled the entire front seven of DVC, and even the secondary was just lost on that play.
So that made it a 3-7 game as the Vikings fought back, and they made it a 9-7 game as the Vikings drove all the way down the field, and they fooled the whole entire defense of Chabot on that toss play out to Sturgis Kofer as Christopher Abbas missed the last PAT, missing his first PAT of the season, and then he had to leave the game after that. So German Acosta has taken over the kicking duties since then. But yeah, that Sturgis Kofer toss play was brilliant.
Yeah, it was a great job giving him momentum this time. It seems like he's always starting out with the shotgun set. He's starting out flat-footed, unable to really gain any momentum with not snapping it under the center, which you see more and more now in college football. But great job to give him a little bit of momentum there. And then, unfortunately for DVC, Chabot came right down the field after.
Yeah, and Akaka was the man on the play. He ran the ball a few times on that drive, and it was capped off by a beautiful read option there as he kept the ball himself, getting in for a 26-yard touchdown. So that's what we really expect out of Akaka, using those legs, using the big right arm, and extending plays and making big plays happen. And then after that, the Vikings scored the final score of the first half of play as it was a 16-14 game after the backup quarterback, Nick Visser, came in there. The Vikings were able to force a bad snap, or not force a bad snap, but there was a bad snap on the long snap by John Miller, the long snapper for the Gladiators. Akaka, who was playing punter at the time, just dropped on top of the ball. The Gladiators were lucky that the Vikings weren't able to pick that ball up and get into the end zone, but instead the backup quarterback Visser came in for his first drive since that Sierra game, and he was able to drive down in 2 snaps, I think it was about a 14-yard touchdown on the quarterback keeper, and then that was the score. That's why we're at 16-14. A little bit weird with that, a little bit weird score with that missed PAT from Abbas as he left the game there. But it's a fun one here in Viking Stadium on this beautiful Friday night. It's not too chilly out in Pleasant Hill yet as we're coming into the fall season. And with 13 minutes left, we'll take a break before coming back for the second half of play here on the DVC Sports Network. So until then, we'll be back.
Diablo Valley College is one of the top career training education programs among California community colleges. Start your career path at DVC and doors will open. Diablo Valley College. Education, opportunity, success. Going to a 4-year college is exciting. Diablo Valley College is one of California's top community colleges for transfer. Start here and doors will open. Diablo Valley College. Education, opportunity, success.
Back in Viking Stadium for the start of the second half of play. The Vikings won the toss to start out the game, and then they elected to receive it. So now we're going to see Akaka come out one more time, seeing what halftime adjustments this Gladiators team can make. As Shane Wilk is alongside me on color, Colin Dixon is on the cameras, and then Oscar Martinez is on the graphics and the stream health right over here. As my name's Max Agress, and we're bringing you second half coverage here from Viking Stadium on the DVC Sports Network.
Yeah, and a couple of things. Oh, sorry about that, but a couple of things that I noted over this halftime, what adjustments I'm assuming these two teams will make. One side on DVC, on the offensive side, the middle of the field's been wide open. Chabot's been bringing these safeties out to the right and left side, and DVC, while having success every time they've gone over the middle, just don't seem to keep going back to that play. On the defensive side, plug the middle of the field. This Chabot running game with the run-pass option, Akaka being able to pull it or not. They just need to plug the middle of that field, get a couple of linebackers in there. And on Chabot's side, definitely run that option more. With Akaka's agility and seeming he's healthy, they've had much success being able to either hand off to Vimu or just keep it himself. And on that defensive side, just corners protecting the sidelines and not giving up so much to the sidelines, and keep it in the middle of the field where they've got safeties being able to help every single time. So it'll be interesting to see how both these teams make adjustments.
And we await the German Acosta kick as he has taken over duties, like I said before, as for the injured kicker, Christopher Abbas. So the two men deep for Chabot will be Daryl Wells and Janiro Crankfield. Or pardon me, actually, Marlon Torrance takes the spot there as the kick bounces down inside of the 10-yard line, bouncing into the end zone for a touchback. So the Vikings will come out and play defense on the first drive of the game from that 25-yard line.
Yeah, we'll be able to see what adjustments immediately are made from this DVC defense, Chabot offense. Again, Chabot, as I had said before, Akaka with that agility, they've had great success running either up the middle. Akaka's been able to bounce outside if when he takes a snap. That had much success in the second quarter especially, although they weren't able to put any points up. But DVC, if they can be able to just plug the middle of the field, that would be much helpful for this third and fourth quarter.
And the Vikings, aside from last game against San Joaquin Delta College, had pitched 2 shutouts in the second half alone. So I'm going to knock on some wood so we don't get another broadcaster's jinx as Akaka comes out in the middle of the field and hand it off this time around to VML. VML going all the way here. He comes up the middle, and the Vikings don't make that adjustment as he goes out to the 20, the 10, running out of gas, but getting into the end zone. And that's another touchdown on the very first play for Chabot. And I mean, that one was just a rip for 75 yards up the middle, and VML is, I mean, he's ecstatic.
No help from the secondary to be found there, but it is not their fault. Initially, I mean, 1 minute ago, I had just said DVC, what they need to do on defense is plug the middle because Chabot was just running all over them and unable to do that on the first play, and Chabot goes right up the middle there for a long, about 75-yard touchdown run.
Akaka doing everything as he is the holder over here for his offensive lineman / kicker, Paulo Rico, as Pablo Rico is able to kick it and cross the tee on the PAT, making it a 21-16 game with 14:48 left in this third quarter of play. And unfortunately, I think what that is for anything, being a player that actually has, or being somebody who's played in this defense, I think that was just a blown assignment from the DVC defense. Typically what they do in that play right over there is they slant the defensive line / linebackers coming up to fill the gap on the rush there. And I think just one of the defensive linemen wasn't able to come in there and fill their gap. They went through the wrong gap, and that left a wide open hole. And that's why there was no safety help over the top, because the Vikings were in a full-out blitz there.
Yeah, it's tough to see a team, and I'm sure Dar's going to address that one, but it's tough to see a team, come out of halftime with rest and able to adjust on defense and then just openly give up a long touchdown run on the first play.
And another broadcaster stinks there. I said they hadn't given up points in the second half in 2 games prior to coming into this one, and right off the bat they give one up on the first play from the second half of play. Lining up, awaiting the kick this time around, and Rico's able to kick the ball up, and it'll be fielded down by Prowse. Prowse gets the ball. He's out to the 15-yard line, out to the 20-yard line, and he makes a move out to the near side of the field from the 25-yard line, trying to use that lateral speed, getting out to the 30, and then dragged out of bounds inside of the 35, and a flag will fly, and it's a late hit out of bounds, and the Vikings will get 15 more yards pinned on top of the great return from Prowse.
Wow, great way to bounce off to the outside there. I was surprised he even took the return in the first place with the ball lasering into the end zone. But after he had made an initial first cut up field, he gained speed outside and then gained another 15 yards on a late hit.
So initially what looks to be about a 39-yard return will get an additional 15 yards pinned on top of it. So the Vikings will start out just about inside or near the Gladiators' side of the field to start things off, or I guess not quite, as they line the ball up at the 44-yard line instead. Or the ball can – let's just wait for them to set the chains before we say anything.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of a miscommunication with the chains moving another 15 yards from the spot of the ball. But
so there you go. They will be well inside the Chabot Gladiator side of the field as they line up from the 42-yard line. And the Vikings, with their makeshift offensive line, will line up from their near hash marks, working right to left in the second half of play. Third quarter is beginning for the Vikings offense now as Graham comes out, 3 receivers out to the far side of the field. Sturgis Kofer in the backfield, and they toss the ball out to Dominic Dominguez as he gets the ball in the bubble screen, but that's read all the way through as it's a huge tackle from the defensive back. Actually, that's the safety, Jakazi Duro.
yeah, no blocks really for Dominguez there. Hard to really fault him on that one. But DVC is still great field position. Potentially looking to open up the run game a little bit here and see if they can make it third and manageable.
Jakazi Duro had 13 tackles against West Hills last game, so he's adding more to his stats. He only had 17 coming into this game. Graham on second and long now will hand the ball off to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer is buckled down and brought down into the backfield. Jeremiah Famore was the man there for the initial contact point. So the Vikings, despite having a great starting field position, are starting to really just struggle on offense here as they start out from the 42-yard line and they're making their way backwards, facing a third and long.
Yeah, offensive line not really doing the greatest job right now of either protecting Graham or getting blocks off for Sturgis Kofer. But if I'm DVC here, I'm looking to make this more of like a fourth and manageable here. It's asking a lot to convert a 3rd and 15. Struggling already on offense.
And last time we asked the Vikings offense to do something to make it a manageable situation, they went with a fade route down the field. So we'll see if they throw caution to the wind or if they actually go out there and just shoot it deep. Sprinting out to the right is Graham after the shotgun snap. He's going to run it himself, and he'll run it out of bounds, losing yardage on the play. He'll lose about half a yard on that play, and the Vikings will go 3 and out after the tremendous starting field position, and we'll see what German Acosta is able to do with the short field.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you're looking here is just to pin him deep and hope that you'll be able to just have a battle of field position really for the next 2 drives. We're trying to pin at least Shabot deep inside the 10 and then halt them from getting a first down and be able to get the ball back in relatively the exact same field position and be able to work from that.
Gennaro Crankfield comes out as the returnman for Chabot as they come out in their black helmets, yellow jerseys, yellow pants, and black numerals. The Vikings, green helmets, gray jerseys, white numerals, white pants. German Acosta has plenty of time to punt this one as will be fair caught inside of the 15-yard line. It'll be brought in at the 14, so a good punt and good coverage from the Vikings there on the short side of the field, and they'll flip things over to make it a extremely long field for Akaka this time out.
Yeah, Acosta, good punt there, be able to get it off. Has loads of time. I'm surprised he doesn't take a couple more steps up with no pressure on him, but at some point coming up to the next punts here, if Acosta's able to kind of give him more of a line drive of a kick, not able to get a fair catch, it'll take more of a Viking bounce next time, just because although they do have an 85-yard field to work with, Chabot does have a little bit of breathing room.
McGloin is in the backfield alongside Akaka here from the far hash mark as they're working left to right. 2 receivers on the bottom of the field as the Vikings work with the man-to-man defense. They hand the ball off to McGloin as McGloin goes up for a gain of just about 1 on the play. So there's some stout defense there for the Vikings as they try to go to the well, run it up the gut one more time, and there's nowhere to go there.
Yeah, it's a little bit tougher to make offensive adjustments as to defense adjustments at halftime.
Heavy left side of the offensive line as they line up with the tight end and an up back as they run power. Cutting back is McGloin as McGloin might take it all the way this time around out to the 50-yard line, brought down at the 45-yard line. So they run power on the right side, pulling the right wing back, or the left wing back rather, Emerson Freeman, but a lane opened up on that outside. McGloin cut it back, and he got a huge chunk of yardage on the play.
Good job from Vince Cage to kind of close the gap there, able to prevent another long touchdown run from Chabot. DVC's definitely got to tighten up the middle of the field.
Yeah, the rover, Vince Ceja, made the tackle on the play. And they'll line up in a two-back pistol look this time with Akaka. As Akaka rolls out, he avoids the first defender. He'll flip the field, flip the hips, tossing it deep down the field. Has two men there, but good defense from the Vikings this time around as David Hamilton, the wide receiver / defensive back, the man playing double duty today, comes up for the stop. So this time around, the Vikings, instead of having Ativa Muga Clemens spy Akaka, they sent him on a blitz, and he almost came up big.
Yeah, Akaka took a big hit there, though. Able to get up easily, though, but Akaka flew that one downfield. Surprising no call on the flag there, but, I mean, I guess we'll have to see. DVC, good coverage there on the play.
I think David Hamilton just did enough to really whip his head around. That's why we didn't see a flag there. Two receivers out to the near side of the field as Akaka gets the snap. It'll hand it off the right side of the offensive line, cuts it back at the near hash mark, and the running back, McGloin, is able to get a nice pickup on the play, making it third and manageable here from just about the 37-yard line.
Yeah, 3rd and 2. It looks to be 4-down territory right now for Chabot. That room where it's too close to punt, too far for a field goal.
The Vikings line up man-to-man as they bring a blitz off the edge. Flag flies down as a free play is just tossed up to the far sideline, and Akaka saw that one. He just tossed the ball way back near the end zone, and the penalty yardage will give the Gladiators offense another first down.
Yeah, poor mental mistake there from the defensive line, and would look like DVC was bringing everything in the kitchen sink on that one to get pressure on Akaka, but unfortunate that they're able to give them the first down with another penalty totaling around 60 yards now.
And it looked like Zane Cribb was the safety blitzing off the edge there. He's got just a little too giddy stepping over the line, and a good heads-up play from the center. That's Zachary Brown getting the snap off. And free play amounts to not much, but still the penalty yardage makes it 1st and 10 from that 32-yard line of the Vikings now.
Yeah, you see a couple DVC defensive players' heads sunk a little bit, so you could see a big play from Chabot here now.
Two receivers out to the far side of the field in the double tight end set. They'll hand the ball off to Viamal this time around, as Viamal has nowhere to go. He loses a yard on the play. That's some stout defense right over there for the Vikings, as the man on the tackle was, I believe that was number 5, Brandon Fatalele.
Yeah, and if you're DVC here, you got to do whatever you can to prevent another first down, because then you start getting into field goal range for Chabot.
A snap from the near hash mark, sprinting out to his left is Akaka as he flips the hips, trying to test the Vikings down deep one more time as they continue to try to pick on David Hamilton on the play, but Hamilton the last 2 times out has played some pretty good coverage, forcing a 3rd and long now, so it'll be a 3rd and 11 from the 33-yard line. Like you said, though, it'll likely be 4-down territory until they can get at least pretty close to the 10-yard line.
Yeah, I mean, DVC right now, you cannot let up on the gas pedal of bringing pressure here. You're putting Akaka under plenty of pressure right now. You are in 4-down territory, but if you're DVC, do not let up and do not give wide receivers, which it looks like they are right now, free yardage.
4 receivers set here as the Vuvuzelas really blow loud underneath the booth here. In the backfield, it'll be VMO alongside Akaka in that shotgun. Snap is off. Akaka gets a chest high snap. He'll step up in the pocket and he'll run it himself out to the 30-yard line, working his way out to the far sideline, out to the 20, the 10, the 5, and he'll step out of bounds inside of the 5-yard line. A brilliant play by Akaka there using his athleticism, and it'll be brought out. They'll actually say he's marked out the 6-yard line. So Akaka, despite the fact that he's such an athletic player, he hasn't really run the ball too much. And it looks like the reason why he had so much space off the left side of the offensive line is the fact that there's a holding call there. So the great run will be brought back.
Yeah, unfortunate holding call there. That's a tough break, and a good break for the Vikings. But Chris Washington, the running back, actually broke free, had a wide open touchdown if Akaka threw it there, but both worked out well. Unfortunately, though, getting called back, a huge momentum swing, and now with a 3rd and long for Chabot.
So we'll see. This actually might bring them back into a punting situation if they just decide to run the ball or if they go deep. Just at this point in the field, they've been going for it on 4th down, but with the situation at hand, having a 3rd in eternity, they'll likely just try to toss it over the middle, get a few extra chunks of yardage, and see what they have to work with. 4 receivers set. Akaka between the hash marks. He'll line up at the Vikings logo, and he'll be brought down at the 50-yard line. A sack from Zane Cribb, putting the pressure off the edge, and this time around, he's able to come home and get, I believe that's actually the 2nd sack of Akaka on the day.
Well, I mean, great pressure on the edge there. As I said before, DVC cannot let up, and they did not let up, able to get the ball back now. And this kind of field position battle has completely been flipped on its side, as Chabot now is in the position to try and pin DVC deep and get the ball back in the same field. But both offenses with a letdown there, being able to be inside the 35-yard line and get 0 points out of it.
Dominic Dominguez, the man deep for the Vikings. He'll line up at the 18-yard line as Akaka comes back out as the punter. The man does literally everything for this team. Awaiting the snap from John Miller as the snap's another low snap, and Akaka has to pick this one up, and he does a rugby-style kick. It'll be fair caught at the 19-yard line. And oh my goodness, that was just another bad snap by the long snapper.
I mean, great job from Akaka that time. No fumble, being able to pick the ball right back up, not just, fall on it, but great job to get a laser kick down there. It'll be interesting to see what DVC does here. Again, you have a whole field to work with, plenty of time on your side, plenty of room to make any plays optionable. We have to see, though, what Graham does here. Could be looking to fire with 4 receivers out wide, though.
And Graham will line up at in between the hash marks as he tosses it to the near side of the field, and it'll be tossed in just a bad spot there. It looked like Roman Sahagan had some room to work with there, but Dylan Graham just was not able to deliver the ball.
Yeah, just a simple timing play on an out there. But unfortunate that Graham wasn't able to get it. That's not the first time we've seen that also. Graham unable to just be in sync with his receivers there timing-wise, or just putting the ball where it needs to be. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings go back to the run game now.
Austin Williams will come into the backfield alongside Dylan Graham. This time around will be 2nd and 10 from the 19-yard line. In between the hash marks, Graham calls for the chest-high snap. He'll get the ball off to Roman Sahagan, and that was almost picked up, but Sahagan gets it out to the 35, brought down inside of the 40-yard line. So they'll say he stepped out of bounds at the 39, but that was just a gutsy ball right over there. The defensive back was almost there to take it home for 6, but Sahagan, coming off the strong right arm of Dylan Graham, was able to hook up for a first down.
Yeah, that ball had pick 6 written all over it, as Ty Nugent was just a half second late and able to get his hands on that ball. Great catch there, at least from the Viking receiver, and DVC able to get a 1st and 10.
Yeah, Nguyen had an interception last week, but this time around he wasn't quite able to get over there, as the Vikings from the near hash mark working right to left get the ball off to Graham. Williams gets the handoff this time around, getting off the right side of the offensive line, running off the right guard DJ Johnson, and he will get a pickup of just about 1 on the play.
And you could see now this run game being able to be implemented with Sturgis Cover trotting back onto the field now. DVC, though, definitely moving the ball a lot better this time around, and with this variety of plays they've been showing, they've been mixing up the Chabot defense.
So Graham will come out, or stay on as quarterback, rather, as Sturgis Cofer comes into the backfield. It'll be a pistol spread set from the C of the Vikings logo from the 41-yard line in between the hash marks. Graham gets the chest-high snap, and he'll sprint out to the right, getting off to Sturgis Cofer. As Sturgis Cofer breaks through one initial tackle, continues to drag one defender with the arm tackle, and get 9 yards on the carry for the first down.
I mean, that play was solely dependent on the blocks of a couple of right guard and a right tackle there, and they were delivered. A extremely delayed handoff, it seemed there, but Sturgis Cofer, outside of breaking a tackle, got a couple of crucial blocks.
It looks like that ball should have actually been a toss, but instead, Graham just decided to run it 5 yards himself before the handoff, and a good stretch run for the Vikings as they get the first down. Graham alongside Sturgis Cofer. The ball is on midfield at the 50-yard line. Snap is off. It's a belt-high snap, and they'll find a man on the sideline, and one more time, Dylan Graham puts a little too much heat on the ball as he cannot hook up with his wide receiver, Roman Sahagan, so it'll be 2nd and 10.
Yeah, the calls are there. The receivers are open. Graham is just not really able to pinpoint his passes where they need to be. He's had a couple of good throws out to the sideline, but it seems like Chabot has tightened up that sideline and forced him to go over the middle a little bit more.
7:13 left in this third quarter of play. 21-16, the Vikings trail Chabot here at home for their first game in the Big Six Conference matchup. 3 receivers to the near side of the field. It'll be a fake handoff. Graham's going to have to step up in the pocket himself, rolling out to the right side of the field, and he'll be brought down by the ankles. And the man on the sack was number 17 for the Chabot defense. That was the linebacker, Niles Pico Paula Waiohu. More Polynesian names.
Yes, I mean, it was a good pursuit there. Graham was one shoelace tackle away from being able to just kind of scurry away and maybe even get a first down there, but good job keeping him behind the line of scrimmage and forcing DVC now for a tough 3rd and long. And you wonder what really they can do here with the running game a little bit too far for a run, but the passing game not really on sync.
6:30 left in this 3rd quarter of play as the Vikings do trail 21-16 with the ball here on 3rd down and long. 3rd and 13, the snap is off. They'll fake the handoff, rolling out to his left this time around is Graham. Graham tosses it across the middle of the field, and that ball's way too high over the top for his intended receiver, Dominic Dominguez. Dominguez ran a 15-yard out route on the play, but he was not able to hook up with this quarterback, and the Vikings once again will have to punt for the 2nd time in the 2nd half.
Yeah, Dominguez was open over a slant in the middle, making it probably going to be about a 4th and 1, 4th and 2, but definitely manageable for the Vikings. But Graham, when you're rolling out on the outside, on the opposing on your body weight, and you're throwing to the outside in that fashion, it's tough to be able to get an accurate throw off in that situation.
German Acosta lining up for, I believe, his 3rd punt of the day, and it looks like this time around Shabot might actually bring some pressure as they feint. The snap is off and no pressure this time around as Acosta takes another kick. It'll be fair caught at the 14-yard line once again. It's like clockwork. 2 14-yard punts or 2 punts fielded at the 14-yard line, and we'll flip the sides of the field.
Yeah, Acosta's been doing a good job being able to get these punts off and pin them at least inside the 20. Not really that much of an opportunity for a shank here, as he's had loads of time in when he gets the snap there. I'm surprised DVC hasn't really, I mean, looking at a fake punt is always a little bit risky, but I'm a little bit surprised that DVC hasn't looked for maybe a potential fake punt. If Acosta is able to throw the ball a little bit well, receivers could be wide open for a little slant over the middle, and DVC could potentially pick up a first down on one of these points.
Sorry about that. We're trying to get some numbers changed on the field as a motion from the wide receiver. It's actually a handoff this time around to Chris Washington, as Chris Washington, instead of trying to run the jet sweep out to the far side of the field, cuts it up inside. And that's one thing that this Chabot offense just hasn't been able to do today. That jet sweep motion that works so well for them to set up their run, to set up the read action. They just haven't gotten any yardage possible or at all on it.
Yeah, Chabot looks like they should be getting back into that situation of kind of a quarterback read here for Akaka.
Akaka gets the ball, and once you call for it. Quarterback keeper, Akaka up the gut, out to the far side of the field, stumbles upon himself, breaks a tackle out to 30, out to the 45, out to the 50, will be escorted out of bounds inside of the 50-yard line. So another huge pickup, and there's no flag on the field this time around, as Akaka will rip off a huge run and be fielded down he'll be brought out of bounds rather, at the 47-yard line of the Vikings.
Wow, I had called that. I had said that maybe they should go back to the quarterback option. He should keep it, but I didn't know they'd do it on the one play I had said they would, as they fooled me, as I'd completely been fooled that they had gave it to Viamu, but great field position now.
And this time around, they hand the ball off the left side of the offensive line, being brought down hard with a suplex of sort. Brandon Fatalale was the man on the tackle, the linebacker for the Vikings. It'll make it 2nd and just about 4.
And Chabot right now is in prime position. When you have the running game working like this, and you've got really just a wealth of options to use on offense, now is when you can really open up that pass game and take a deep shot.
And they have been going with that up back / double tight end set. This time around, they just go with the up back as Akaka tosses it across the field, and it's straight through the hands of his sophomore wide receiver, Kyrie Harris. As if he was able to hook up with Harris on that play, he might have came up with possibly 6.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate that you're able to have a kind of Chris Harris just kind of let that one slip through his fingers. But one thing to know now right now is DVC's got backup quarterback Nick Visser warming up on the sideline. He could be going in for Dylan Graham.
And this time around, they'll line up in that pistol set. They'll motion Washington across the field, so it'll be 2 receivers out to the far side of the field from the far hash mark. Akaka trying to lead his team to another first down, be 3rd and 5 from the 41-yard line of the Vikings. Akaka calling for the chest high snap, and he'll hand it off this time to VML, as VML has nowhere to go. Brought down at the 40-yard line, and a good stout defensive stop by the defensive end, Ravina Saleh, for the Vikings, and it'll be a 4th down situation.
And that's one of the things that could potentially hurt you if you're Chabot. You have the run game working so well there. You stray away from it a little bit, throw a couple passes, and now you're in a 4th down situation. This DVC defensive line is able to regroup a little bit and go for a 4th down stop.
fourth down here, 4th and 3 with 4:07 left in the third quarter of play. As Diablo Valley College takes a timeout, and we'll take a quick timeout with them before coming back for this next play. 30-second timeout. We'll be back on the Viking Sports Network as the Vikings trail 21-16. Back here at Viking Stadium, third quarter of play with 4:06 left in this third quarter. 21-16, the Vikings are trailing, but they're facing a huge fourth down situation here. Akaka is out in that shotgun set as he motions Chris Washington across the formation. There'll be two receivers out to the near side of the field with an up back off the left side of the offensive line. Emerson Freeman has been that up back the whole entire game. He has 2 touchdowns on the year with 5 catches for 80 yards. And now they'll shift it into a pistol set for Akaka alongside Viamal as they hand the ball to Viamal. Viamal showing patience in the backfield, but he's brought back and dropped for a 1-yard loss on the play. So on fourth down, the Vikings get off the field for the second time today, and the Vikings offense will have the opportunity to try to make something happen with their backup quarterback, Nick Visser, checking into the game. And it's going to be interesting to see what they'll be able to do here. All right, pardon me, actually, Nick Visser was warming up on the sideline, but they'll send Dylan Graham out one more time. But he'll be first and down from the 41-yard line, and Dylan Graham will try to lead his team down the field.
Yeah, the DVC Vikings brought the whole house on that one. They anticipated the run, and the timeout proved to be worthy as they get the ball back around midfield.
First and 10 from the 4 hash mark at the 41-yard line. Vikings work with the 3 receiver set out to the near side of the field. Sturgis Kofer off the right hip of Dylan Graham. Play action fake. Dylan Graham going across the middle of the field. This time he's able to hook up as a wide receiver at the 35-yard line, brought down at the 34-yard line. And that's John Giagiari, the third. Once again, he's been a great third option for this Vikings offense today.
Yeah, great play over the middle there. Not that bad a coverage for Shabot. You can't fault the secondary that much, but just great job from Graham to just put that ball on the money.
Exactly. That was ball placement one-on-one there. He was able to put it on a spot where only his wide receiver could get it, and the defensive back had no chance. As Graham has 2 receivers out to the near side of the field from the far hash mark, and in the pistol set this time, Sturgis Kofer stands. Sturgis Kofer doesn't even fake for the ball as they toss out to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer makes a move at the 30-yard line, spinning out of one tackle and being brought down hard at the 28-yard line as flags fly onto the field. And possibly another holding call on the Vikings.
Could be holding. Looked like a block in the back, though. I mean, that was right in front of the official. You cannot get away with that when you... And they'll give it a holding call there, but just as bad, both the same yardage of penalties.
So the right guard starting at right tackle today as the Vikings shift around. Christopher Strauder, the 6'7", 415-pound guard out of Richmond, California, wasn't quite able to get his feet moving in that direction, so he had to reach out, and that's a hold.
Yeah, and the officials will call that every time, but when it comes to saving your quarterback from a potential big hit, you're going to have to give up that holding call.
So the Vikings actually shift things around. Dion Falau is playing right tackle now as Christopher Strauder moves out to right guard. A snap is off. It's a handoff to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer runs in the back of his center. That's Giovanni Spinelli, and he only gets about half a yard on the play. So once again, the Vikings just shuffle around their offensive line. They're having some real issues after losing their backup, or losing their right tackle, J.J. Hunter. So now the defensive lineman, Dion Falau, is playing right tackle. Christopher Strauder moves over to right guard. And the Vikings are just shuffling things around, trying to get anything going for their offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like right now they'll have to go for some quick passes here, give the offensive line a little bit of a break. And if Graham can kind of sling it out to the right or left side, depending on whoever's open over the middle towards the sideline, that may be the move to go.
I just think you got to run it to the left side because you have 2 actual starting offensive linemen playing that way.
Yeah.
Second and 20. The Vikings trail 21-16 as Graham gets the chest-high snap. He'll zip it across the middle of the field. It's caught in by Sahagan. Sahagan brought down hard at the 28-yard line. It looked like he headbutted one of the defenders on the play, but he's able to get a huge pickup of yardage there and make it third and manageable.
Yeah, and what I had said before, I mean, going over the middle kind of and taking advantage of this secondary for Chabot, giving you these yards.
The penalty flag flies in late. Maybe it's an unsportsmanlike conduct call on one of the Vikings players. They've shown some undisciplined play, especially against Sierra, where basically they lost the game because of 6 different unsportsmanlike penalty calls. And exactly like that, the Vikings off the bye week, they're hoping they can come back and clean things up, but instead, another penalty on the Vikings will push them all the way back, and it'll be 3rd and 10 now instead of 3rd and manageable.
They're nearing that 100-yard penalty mark, and that is exactly what I'm sure Coach Dar did not want coming into this game. I mean, DVC not even in the 4th quarter yet, and they're already nearing that triple-yard mark. Chabot, though, on the other hand, doing a great job of staying disciplined.
All right, aside from that one offsiding penalty in the first half of play, but yeah, Chabot has done a pretty decent job so far in this game. 33-yard line of the Chabot College Gladiators as the Vikings from the far hash mark will work with the 2 receivers set off to the far side of the field. Rolling out to his right-hand side, being brought down hard, and that was a huge hit. We'll hope he gets up after the play, as that was the right defensive end, Nick Villamaona, the actual leading tackler of this the Chabot defense. He was there first on the play, getting his 2nd and a half sack of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Graham really didn't have any awareness of what exactly the pressure that was coming to him. He sensed it from the left side. He tried to move out of the pocket a little bit to the right, but had no clue that there were a couple more defensive ends coming in to close in on a sack. And Graham, unfortunately, having to go down there and give up the ball on this drive.
Jeremy Acosta will line up for his 3rd punt of the second half of play, as both of them have been fielded down at the 14-yard line prior to this. The snap is off. It's a good chest-high snap. It'll be a high swirling punt. And this one will be fielded at the 12-yard line this time around. So Jeremy Acosta coming in, taking over punting duties for Christopher Abbas, has done quite the job. He's just pinning the Gladiators inside of their own 20-yard line and giving his defense the best of opportunities.
Yeah, this looks like more of a battle of field position at the moment. Whilst DVC needing a score, Chabot is looking to potentially slow the game down a little bit, milk some time off the clock, and if they could put together kind of a long, sustained drive here, mixing in pass, run, keeping this defense on its toes, Chabot could be able to begin to pull away, but DVC having the chance right now with Chabot backed up inside their own 15-yard line to get a stop quickly and get off the field.
21-16, the Vikings trails. They come back on defense with 41.3 seconds left. Kaka from the far hash mark will hand the ball off to VML, or pardon me, that's actually McGloin, as McGloin gets 2 on the carry.
Good push there from the front 7 of DVC. And the main concern right now is what it's looked to be on second downs. DVC will kind of give up maybe around 8 yards and give Chabot these 3rd and 1 chances. And Chabot seems to be taking advantage seemingly against how horrible they've been on 3rd down throughout the season. It'll be interesting to hear how DVC can kind of put a stop and tighten up this coverage and plug that middle against Chabot and try and get off the field quickly.
As we will actually go into the 4th quarter of play here, as this was quite the fast 3rd quarter. So, after an initial score in the very first play of the 3rd quarter, the score has stayed the same, with the Gladiators leading 21-16 with 15 minutes left in this game. We'll take a break here before we start the 4th quarter play. You're listening to DVC Football here on the Viking Sports Network. 15 more minutes to play as we enter the fourth quarter of play, the final quarter of play in Viking Stadium to open up the Big Six Conference. And hand off this down. No, it's actually a play-action pass as Akaka going deep down the field. He has a man there if he can hook it up as it brought in at the 30, out to the 10, into the end zone for a touchdown. And Janiro Crankfield pulls it all the way out on second and intermediate, and he goes yard.
Wow, I mean, the great first step there, and DVC's corner caught flat-footed. After that long walk down the field, Akaka just comes up firing, and unbelievable there from Akaka, just perfectly thrown ball about 45 yards down the field, absolutely launched that thing, and Chabot now able to make this a two-possession game.
And man, that was a huge throw. You said it was about 45 yards through the air, but I mean, he's just trusting his wide receivers going all the way down the field. And there's a reason why they're averaging 15.3 yards per catch. That's because things like this happen. Pablo Rico lines up, and it's a low kick. This one will probably, no, it's good. From our angle, it went wide left, but from the officials on the field, that one crosses the T on the PAT as Pablo Rico is able to cross the T, and it makes it a 28-16 game with 14:49 left. There's just something about that first play of each quarter that Chabot has where they just rip a huge play off.
I mean, it's almost as if DVC's taken a little bit longer of an extended break after each quarter break, but Chabot averaging 400 total yards each game this season, and they're showing exactly why. They rip off these 85-yard touchdown passes, these 70-yard touchdown passes. I mean, Akaka's just able to sling the ball down the field, and a great job from these receivers to get a step on these DVC corners.
Man, that's just really been the theme of it. The Vikings play extremely well, and then all of a sudden you give up a huge play, whether it's a run up the gut because of a blown run read or a blow over the top with a just tremendous play from the wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, if you're DVC now, time is no longer off on your side, and time is at the essence. I mean, DVC is going to have to sustain a good drive here, get a quick touchdown, and hope that they can get a defensive stand, because right now Chabot's offense has no signs of slowing down, and DVC's been nothing but halted in the second half.
Pablo Rico out there to kick the ball one more time. Pablo Rico is probably one of the largest kickers that you'll see this year. Number 55 stands at 6'2", 300 pounds. So you do not want him hitting you on the punt coverage, or on the kick coverage rather.
No, you will not. You've seen sometimes these highlights of big punters, big kickers kind of laying the boom on a big kick return here. But DVC, to get started, I mean, you'll need about a 25, 30-yard gain, hopefully, to get some momentum towards that offense.
Prowse is out there alongside Chris Miles as they await the kick from the biggest kicker on the field, Pablo Rico. Jotting forward, shows off that right leg. It'll be a low line drive kick, and it'll be fielded at the 11-yard line by Chris Miles. Chris Miles working towards the near hash mark, and he's taken down real hard over the top as he's brought down at the 33-yard line, and a great special teams tackle by the backup linebacker, Capuno Durate.
DVC special teams, though, doing their job. I mean, there's no much more you can really ask to kind of get this DVC offense in good enough field position, just having not really a short field, but just not a ton of field ahead to work with. And hopefully DVC can get something going through the air and complete some of these passes, because right now the running game has been just completely halted. But with a new quarterback, you never know. Visser's
out there on the field, and the running back alongside him is Austin Williams as they work from the near hash mark from the 34-yard line. The Vikings from their own 34 get the helmet high snap, and it'll be a handoff out to Williams. Williams has a seam in the middle of the field, and it'll be brought down after a nice gain of 10 on the play. It's good to see Austin Williams getting some productive carries here. He was the starting running back coming into the season before Sturgis Kofor had his coming out party, as he just really destroyed after Williams came out with the MCL injury.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that's a huge advantage right now for DVC. Now you got the read option for Visser.
And another wild snap as Visser hands the ball off to Sturgis Kofor, and Sturgis Kofor is brought down after a gain of 6 on the play, and he'll get out to the 49-yard line after being tackled down by Nai Kihai, the defensive end.
And as I was saying before, I mean, Chabot's defense was just putting together great stands time after time again, but now you're forced to kind of switch everything up a little bit and start having to switch really your defensive mentality when now you've got to worry about a quarterback run. and even him pulling it back and firing one down the field at any point in time.
Visser is 5 for 12 for 48 passing yards so far this year, but he has coming into this game, he had 7 rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown. He's already had a touchdown today. 1st and 10 from the 49-yard line of the Vikings, and Visser will toss the ball over the top this time around, way too far over the top as Roman Sahagan was brought down hard in the double coverage.
Boy, he had him. I mean, he had enough space. He put the ball where it needed to be, but that was a rough hit to take, and it's hard to really get your mind in the mindset of being able to just bring the ball down and not have a massive hit on your mind.
Yeah, and Nick Visser actually, thinking back to that game, the 4 or 5 pass attempts that he had against that Sierra game were all fade routes to Roman Sahagan.
I mean, when you got to go back to the wishing well, it seems like that's the one play you can go to.
Sturgis Kofer lines up in the pistol set, the 2-back pistol set, as a running back is off the left side of the offensive line. Visser keeps it himself this time. He's brought down behind the line of scrimmage. A good disciplined wrap-up from the linebacker, Chris Bakos there, as Bakos puts on his 30-plus total tackle this year.
I mean, this is one thing that you really don't like to see if you're in DVC right now. You see the Shabot defense slowly but surely gaining momentum. It's almost like they're getting stronger and becoming more explosive as the game's going on. And now, I mean, now you've got a 3rd and long for DVC.
And they line up in that dual-back pistol once again. The defense end, Ravina Saleh is playing that fullback position. In the pistol, Visser calls for the snap, and he'll hand it off to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer cups it up on the near hash mark as he runs forward out to the 35-yard line, being brought down by an ankle tackle there. But just what the doctor called for, a draw play out to Sturgis Kofer. He rips off 15 yards for the first down for the Vikings.
Wow, that's one thing that you love to see from a running back like him. I mean, he absolutely was brought behind the line of scrimmage, it almost seemed, but just had to keep those legs turning whatever he can to get a first down for this DVC football team and try and now inside the 40-yard line put some points on the board.
And yards after contact is the motto for Tyrell Sturgis Kofer, as he's running into a very, very shuffled around offensive line. So he's not having many opportunities, but he just makes that one cut from behind the line of scrimmage as he gets the handoff. There, no, Nick Visser holds the ball here as he keeps on the quarterback keeper, trying to dive over the top of the safety, Tyrone Simmons, on the tackle there, but he gets another rip-off yards for a first down.
I remember going back to about the second quarter, or the first quarter even, when Visser kept it himself. You've got to love the awareness. You've got to love the mentality of him being able to read the defense that quickly and that spurts getting put in the game, and now he's able to kind of read the Chabot defense and keep it himself and get gains like that.
Yeah, essentially you have 2 power backs in the backfield with Sturgis Kofer and Nick Visser there. It just happens that Nick Visser plays quarterback as well. 11:38 left in this fourth quarter play. The Vikings are trailing by 12 points, 28-16, as Visser lines up in the pistol set. 4 receivers out there from the middle of the hash marks. Visser will toss the ball up this time, and he'll toss a fade route this time. Back shoulder, and he could not hook up with Dominic Dominguez. That ball was right there, but that's just what happens when you have an offense or a second-string quarterback come into the game. You don't have that connection with the wide receivers.
Yeah, the chemistry isn't exactly there yet. Visser, I don't fault Visser for the throw. It was a good back shoulder throw.
That was a great throw.
It was exactly where it needed to be. It seemed like Dominguez couldn't really get his feet. It almost not really tangled up with his feet, but he was just kind of looked like almost dancing around trying to be able to get that back shoulder catch.
So on first down, the Vikings toss the ball out, almost hook it up, but now they'll face this 2nd and 10 with 11:25 left. Sturgis Kofer in the pistol set alongside Visser. Visser gets the ball and he hands it off to Sturgis Kofer. Sturgis Kofer working in the right hash mark. Gallops over a defender. He's brought down after another huge gain of 12 on the play. Man, this is why you love to see Sturgis Kofer in the game. He gassed out in that last game against San Joaquin Delta College, but it looks like he got his conditioning straight as he is absolutely running this DVC offense.
And one thing that's huge about this offensive drive that Visser has put together here is just the fact that he hasn't taken a lot of time off the clock. These gains have been coming in chunks. They're able to stop the clock after each first down.
And despite the fact that they are huddling up, they get the ball snapped off pretty fast. 10:53 left. Sturgis Kofer is in the shotgun set with Visser now. 4 receivers from the near hash mark. Visser scanning the field. It's a man-to-man coverage, and he'll hand the ball off. No, it's a quarterback. I don't know. The mesh point was all jumbled up there, but it'll be a tackle for a loss of 1 yard on the play.
Yeah, red zone struggles were the name of the game in the first quarter, the first drive that DVC had, and it is something that is a huge focal point. Again, 35% touchdown rate in the red zone for DVC, not what you want when you're in this scoring mentality, and they only score less than 55% of the time.
And the problem with the Vikings running that ball there is the clock continues to churn. 10-10 left in the fourth quarter. Visser will be in that pistol alongside Sturgis Kofer as they make a wide receiver shift as John Giagiari comes back into the game. He has been the red zone target the last few weeks for the Vikings as Visser looks his way and he tosses out to Dominic Dominguez. Dominic Dominguez makes the catch at the 10-yard line, makes a move at the 5-yard line, and he's brought down there, and it'll be third and about 2 yards from the 5-yard line of Chabot.
Great job of Visser standing in the pocket there, not phased by the pressure at all. Good find to Dominguez. And this is one of those situations that you love if you're a DVC play coordinator. You're able to call whatever you really need here with a first down 2 yards away and a touchdown 4 yards away. A run pass, it could be anything.
So riddle me this. Do you have it on a quarterback keeper with Visser here, or do you hand it off to Sturgis Kofer to get the necessary yardage on 3rd and 2?
With the ability to break tackles, I think you have to go to Sturgis Kofer.
For the near hash mark, the snap is off, and he runs into his quarterback as the ball is tossed out to John Giagiari, the third. And, oh, my goodness, that was just a messed up play from the get-go. Sturgis Kofer ran to the back of his backup quarterback, and now the Vikings have a decision to make.
It almost seemed like Sturgis Kofer thought he was getting the ball. He had run the exact way that the handoff was going to be set.
I think what probably happened was it was an RPO, and Visser saw his wide receiver there, so he pulled the ball, but unfortunately he bumped into his running back there. And, I mean, that was a decent throw. John Giagiari had a chance at that ball there. Now the Vikings, with 9:13 left in this fourth quarter, will come out in a dual back pistol set. Ravin Nasale comes out as the fullback. Sturgis Kofer's in the backfield in the pistol set. It'll be a toss out to the far side, and then it's tipped up in the air. Flag flies in as the ball was intercepted there. And we'll see what the call on the field is.
I initially thought it looked like a hold. Dominguez was held a little bit in his way, and that's why the referee in the back of the end zone threw the flag. It could be something else. It looked like Dominguez was whole.
From the way that the positional groups are staying on the field, initially the Vikings defense started to jot out there, but I guess somebody told, one of the officials told the players that it's going to be a penalty on the Gladiators. So the Vikings will get a bit of luck there as they are able to keep the drive alive.
And as we wait for the penalty, I mean that is luck at its finest for the Vikings right there. I'm a little bit baffled as to why DVC didn't run a couple times up the middle. I mean Sturgis Kofer with, as it is the penalty on
the slot quarterback.
And I mean you have 2 yards to gain. Sturgis Kofer, even if he's wrapped up in the backfield, he's been shown to be able to break these tackles. Now, obviously, for the first down goal to go. DVC's got it pretty set here, able to probably run it up the middle a couple times with Sturgis Kofer with his ability to break tackles.
So it'll be first down and goal from what they'll set it up at the 5-yard line. And you got to believe you just hand it off to Sturgis Kofer as many times as it takes, or maybe even run that toss play that worked so well in the first half of play.
You would think that, and then DVC comes out with these play calls of throwing slants the next couple times and picked off the last play, but luckily a bailout of a penalty.
Nasali is up at the fullback, or at the up-back position off the right side of the offensive line. Sturgis Kofer's in the backfield alongside Nick Visser. Nick Visser in between the hash marks from the 3-yard line will throw another pass. He'll roll out to his left, trying to cut it up the field and to be turned over the top as he was upended, and a player is down for Shabot as flags flew in at the end of the play. And this is just not looking good for the Chabot defender as we'll wait the call on the field.
Definitely looked to be a little bit of an ugly landing there as he was going for Visser. Right now, I mean, seeming like shades of the Patriots-Seahawks Super Bowl 2015 when you've got a running back that can't be stopped, but yet you keep throwing slants. It seems self-explanatory right now.
So it's a false start on the offense, as it's good to see the defender who went down hard on that play for Chabot get up, and that's number 4, the safety, Tyrone Simmons Jr. getting up there. And so with the timeout on the field, we'll take a quick timeout from the booth here in Viking Stadium as the Vikings trail 28-16, but they are in the red zone. This will be 2nd and goal on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to DVC Football on the DVC Sports Network. 9:06 left in this fourth quarter of play. The Vikings trail the Gladiators 28-16. This here is with Sturgis Kofer as the penalty was declined, making it a 2nd and goal from the 7-yard line. 2 receivers out to the far side of the field, and they'll run a pass out to Sturgis Kofer as it goes off his hands. Sturgis Kofer was not, no whistle on the field as the ball might have been called a lateral. Sturgis Kofer picks it up. He gets into the end zone for a touchdown on what seems to be one of the wonkiest plays of the night.
I am speechless sitting here. It looked like a forward pass out of the backfield for Sturgis Kofer. Looked to be behind the line of scrimmage, and both cornerbacks stopped as Sturgis Kofer, luckily the ball found his hands on a perfect bounce back to him and just kind of rolled his way into the end zone.
And that was actually Dylan Graham who tossed that ball, so they snuck in the starting quarterback in there. He tossed the ball out to Sturgis Kofer, and the ball was called a lateral, so just like that, the Vikings get back into the game. And
I mean, that is one of those things where it's hard to call. I mean, you can't.
You would assume that the official on the field right over there, the Lions judge, had the ankle on the ball because he was right there. So, fortunately enough, the fumble on the lateral there goes the way of the Vikings as Sturgis Kofer goes in for a 7-yard fumble return touchdown. As German Acosta is able to cross the tee on the PAT, and the Vikings are back in this game. They trail 28-23 with 8:54 left. If they can get a defensive stop, we'll see what they're able to do on offense once again. But that's been the trouble tonight. It's been trying to get Akaka off the field. And what worked so well for the Vikings was sending that pressure and getting all the hits possible on the big quarterback.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see what DVC comes out with here. I would assume they come out with bringing a little bit of pressure. Akaka's had all loads of time to make a read and be able to keep it or not. He's been able to really take a look at this DVC offense each play and really figure out what exactly the defensive scheme is being run. The one thing that I would just have to say is play to the whistle.
Yeah,
there you go. Got to play to the whistle, and to see a couple cornerbacks and a safety just stop.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see, and then I was watching Sturgis Kofer, and the ball just took an incredible bounce right back up to him, and he stopped as well until he didn't hear a whistle, and he just almost kept jogging towards the end zone.
Just a heads-up play by Sturgis Kofer there. So another fumble for the Vikings, but this time around the fumble goes the way of the Vikings, as it has for the majority of the year, to be completely honest. And the Vikings are, do you call that a rush? Do you call that a pass? Do you call it a fumble recovery?
It's one of those odd situations where, it's a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
That would be his first reception for a touchdown, but I guess it's a stretch handoff, so a handoff and then a fumble return for a touchdown. So this time around, Acosta will not have a very good kick. German Acosta will not have a very good kick, as the ball will bounce out of bounds and give the Gladiators a great starting field position there. But going back to that last play, it's just such a wonky play, right?
You cannot make this stuff. You cannot script this kind of stuff. It's these crazy plays that happen, these heads-up plays that make games like this, and it's one of those things that kind of bailed out DVC. You see how terrible they are in the red zone all year long. They're under every average of what you should be in the red zone. You get plays like that to bail you out, kind of switches the momentum a bit. If this defense gets off the field quickly, this offense would come down and score a game-winning drive.
VML comes out with Chance Akaka here, as Akaka having a tremendous night, sees if he can lead his team to another score. They come out with the up back off the left side of the offensive line for the near hash mark, working right to left. They hand it off on the outside read, and VML has nowhere to go. It's a huge loss of 3 on the play, and the Vikings start things off well, as the defensive end, Devin Thomas, is the man on the tackle for loss.
That was a little bit poor from Akaka there. It was it seemed like he sensed the pressure there coming from DVC, bringing a blitz, but his positioning a little bit kind of gave away that run handoff, and DVC was quick to pounce on that.
8:26 left. Clock is counting down. The Vikings trail by 5 points here, as Akaka hands the ball off this time around to VML one more time. And he's dropped for a gain of about 1 on the play, but it'll be 3rd and long now, and the Vikings, if they can hold up and not do what they've done all night long, which is give up that huge pass, they have an opportunity to get the ball back and possibly steal the lead.
Well, unfortunately, VML ran into his own blocker there, so he's kind of halted off the get-go. But right now, if you're DVC, you got to keep a spy on Akaku and hope that he doesn't scramble out for another first down, and tighten up that coverage and maybe bring a couple helps. You do not need to bring pressure here if you're DVC.
And Ativa Muga Clemens has been the man to spy Akaka all night long, as Akaka works from the near hash mark on 3rd and 11. They hand the ball up one more time, and VML has nowhere to go. 2 tackles for loss and a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, or near the line of scrimmage for the Vikings, as they force a 3 and out, and Akaka will line up as the punter, as the Vikings defense does exactly what the doctor calls for, as they get their offense another opportunity.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a loss for words of what that was. If there was, instead of 7 minutes and 30 seconds, if there was 1 minute and 30 seconds, I would understand. You'd want to burn the timeouts. But in that situation, there's no need to run the ball up the middle 3 consecutive times, giving DVC plenty of time with their with a couple of timeouts.
Dominic Dominguez is the man to return the punt. He'll line up at the 35-yard line, as Akaka has his heels on the 19-yard line. The Vikings are bringing pressure up the middle of the field. They roll out to the right, and they do a Aussie-style punt. It'll be bounced down. It'll continue to take a Gladiators bounce, as, oh my goodness, Dominic Dominguez thought the ball would take a Vikings bounce. He let it drop at the 30-yard line, as the men coverage got right up into his face, but instead a boneheaded play from their return men lets the ball bounce all the way down into the 10-yard line. So the momentum that the Vikings have stolen away by getting that 3 and out might have just been returned to a slight extent by the ball bouncing out inside of the 10.
Yeah, that was a 31-yard punt that turned into a 51-yard punt. It took a massive bounce there for the Gladiators. And DVC, luckily though, with 90 yards to work with, they do have 2 timeouts, 6:42 left, plenty of time, no need to rush.
And can't get quite the number on the field, but it looks like Nick Visser is back out there with Sturgis Kofor. The Vikings line up with 2 totem pole sets for the Vikings. They stack up their receivers on the far and near side of the field, and it'll be a play action pass. Will be caught on the far side of the field, make his way out to the 25 to 30, and brought out of bounds inside of the 30-yard line is Dominic Dominguez. As that's a nice read that I like the Vikings working with right over there. If you can't break off the the press coverage of Shabot, just line your wide receiver up in the backfield and give him some extra space.
Yeah, good job from Visser there, taking the hit and throwing the pass at the exact same time. Dominguez, great run after catch. Now with at the 30-yard line, with time on your side and a couple timeouts, there is no need to rush. You can kind of mix it up here with a run and a pass, and you have to start thinking of how much time you could be leaving Chabot with the ball, barring you score.
6 minutes and 5 seconds counting down. The Vikings are down 23, but they have the ball here. Visser will avoid the first defender, and he'll elect to run it himself, getting out to the far hash mark, spinning out of the first tackle, and is brought down hard at just about the 27-yard line. So that was just a blown-up play from the get-go from the Chabot defense as they force a 2nd and long.
Good coverage downfield there. Visser immediately looked for any receivers in the open area to throw it to after that initial hit, but great coverage there and great ability to kind of get some pressure on him, and just a great bounce back all in all after that first 20-yard gain.
5 minutes counting down. Chabot College has 3 timeouts. The Vikings have 2 timeouts with 5:25 left. And the Vikings will come out in that pistol look. Sturgis Kofor in the backfield, 3 receivers out to the near side of the field from the far hash mark. Visser awaits the snap, sets up for it, gets a belt-high snap, 3-step drop, stepping up in the pocket. He'll have one man spying him as he avoids the defender initially, and he'll be brought down for a loss of 1 on the play. Once again, it's like the defenses are honestly kind of mirroring themselves at this point, as both of them are just leaving a linebacker on the spy the whole entire time, because you know the athletic ability of Visser, you just have to have a man spying him at all times.
They had a man spying him, and Visser looked like he could be able to get to the outside, but that was a little bit poor from Christopher Strotter there, the big offensive lineman. He couldn't quite find a guy to block. He was staring at a couple of guys, but he couldn't really make his mind up, and unfortunately Visser had to pay the price.
Block the inside man, right? Isn't that the rule? So the Vikings will face a 3rd and long now, as there is 0 safety help over the top. Visser, 4 wide receiver set, will fake the handoff. He's rolling out to his left. He tosses it across the middle of the field. It goes off the shoulder pad of the defender, and the Vikings have to punt this ball away with 4:20 left.
Luckily, though, for the Vikings, although this drive did come up a little bit short, plenty of time still, and with a couple of timeouts, over 4 minutes to go, not really in rushing time yet, but one thing to look at is Chabot. That was very uncharacteristic of them to go up the middle 3 times and be stuffed like that. It's hard to see that happening again, so DVC will have to come up with the same defensive intensity as they did before.
Sherman Acosta to punt it for what I believe is his 6th time today. Darrell Wells lines up at the 35-yard line, or his heels are on the 35-yard line, awaiting the punt. Devin Gold's punt is off. Plenty of time to punt it. It's a low wobbling punt. It'll bounce down at the 45-yard line, taking a Vikings bounce all the way down into the 36-yard line. So a decent punt by Acosta there. And it's just up to the Vikings to show their true colors as such a strong defense as they've been this whole entire year long and just get another big stop.
Yeah, a couple of early touchdowns here from Chabot in the start of the game, and ever since then, this DVC team has really been buckling down on defense, giving up only a couple more for the rest of the game. And right now, DVC, you can't really ask for more than what they did on the last drive, but unfortunately, you're going to have to here, not having all 3 timeouts. It's kind of a necessity to get them off the field as fast as possible.
You have 2 timeouts in your pocket if you're a Vikings fan. But there's 4:10 left in this clock as Akaka comes out at quarterback. He motions his wide receiver, Chris Washington, across the field as they'll hand the ball up the middle of the field to McGloin this time. McGloin getting all the way out to the 45-yard line on a nice run up the middle.
Now, right now, if you're the Vikings defense, I would think you'd have to bring a little bit of pressure. With it being second and short, you're going to have to look at a loss here.
As Ronnie Preston comes out on the tackle there, and just another injury on the field for Chabot.
You hate to see someone like McGlown there that distraught on the field. It seems like he knows that this one could be a serious one with right now his expression kind of saying it all. But luckily, Viamu is still in the game for this Chabot team and able to take handoffs. Tough to see a running back like that running with such power and then just be halted with an injury and unfortunately look like be sidelined for the rest of the game.
I hate to see it. We're not going to speculate on anything, but it is a lower leg injury. As we'll keep it here and just talk about some of the action that's been going on in the field. Unfortunately for the Vikings, it seemed like every single time the first play of each quarter has really just put them in a deficit. As the first one was, an 80-yard passing touchdown. The second time around, it was a huge run up the middle. And it's just the Vikings, after that first initial play, seem to fall into their own groove and play pretty well. But I don't know what it is about that first play of the quarter that just really gets them in that hole.
They're still in that break mindset, it almost seems like, and the Chabot team is out ready with guns firing, blazing off, and it tells with every single quarter. But the Vikings really need a first down here would not be the worst thing in the world with a stoppage of the clock on first down, but a tackle for loss is of the necessity right now.
Without a doubt, Damian Bamford checks back in for the Vikings. The 6'8", 305-pound nose tackle has been struggling with his hand as he's faced a hand injury all throughout this game. Akaka in between the tackles here, or in between the hash marks, rather, has 2 receivers out to the near side of the field. And another stoppage of play on the field. 3:55 is the time that they call on the clock, which helps the Vikings in this situation. And the clock will start after the injury on the field, after the whistle is blown by the officials.
DVC stacking the box a little bit here, putting a few 4 linebackers almost, a couple outside ones, a couple inside linebackers, trying to stuff this run, which I'm guessing, which could be a great time for Akaka to keep this one.
So the Vikings will line up in a 3-man defensive front, but they'll likely bring the linebackers over the tackles there. An up back is off the right guard this time around, as Emerson Freeman is that right guard, or as that up back. Akaka motions his man across the field and will be a quarterback keeper by Akaka. Akaka's brought down right at the sticks. A flag flies in at the end of the play. And despite the fact that the Vikings gave up enough yards to get the first down, this one will likely go on the right guard, Antonio Hernandez, on a holding call, and the Vikings will get another lucky penalty.
Wow, that is a bailout to say the least. I had said it could be a great time for Akaka to keep it, and it was. It worked out great, but unfortunately it worked out due to the holding there. So fortunate for this DVC defense, and hopefully they'll be able to get a stop here, potentially an incompletion, and stop this clock from running, because Chabot right now is not doing the best job at running this clock down.
And Pablo Rico is the left tackle. He was the man actually called on that holding call. So 2nd and 12 after the 10-yard penalty on the play.
Chabot here with under 3:30 to go. They are a couple first downs away from actually ending this game, but DVC's defense standing very tall right now, not giving away any free yards.
10 seconds left on the play clock as the clock turns down from 3:10. Chance Akaka in the pistol. Motions Washington once again, and they hand it off to VML as VML gets a nice gain of about 4 on the play, but he's brought down just about at the 39-yard line as the Vikings take a timeout and they will force a 3rd down and long.
He was running with a real head of steam there. That seemed like it could be a first down run, the way he was running, looking like he was going to run downfield there. But good job from the DVC defense with a 3rd and relatively long situation here. It's really hard to tell what kind of defensive formation you come out with. You've got to protect the pass with a 3rd and 8. But
what I think the Vikings are going to do, just because I know the DNA of this team and I know how Coach Dar loves to coach defense, I think they're going to send the house. Say, hey, make a play or else we're going to smack you down and make it 3rd or 4th and even longer.
Exactly. It seems foolish right now if Shabot would pass the ball, risking an incompletion. If you do
just do a full run blitz.
Exactly, and if you do guess right, it works out perfectly. You're able to use a timeout, have about 3 minutes of time to work with to get in the end zone here. And if it is an incompletion, you luck out and have a timeout on your side.
So this comes down to the play calling here, as that was one of the key points that the Vikings actually brought up. They said this game would actually come down to the way that the teams coached towards the 4th quarter, and this is exactly how it's been written. Yeah, exactly. So the men in the backfield will be VML and Chance Akaka. And it'll be 3rd and 8 from the 38-yard line of the Gladiators. The Vikings will line up with the 3-man front, but it looks like they'll bring the linebacker Brandon Fatalale off the edge. They'll pass it over the middle, and that one's dropped! The wingback Emerson Freeman could have gotten his 6th catch of his season, but that one goes off the hands of the wingback as he's used to blocking. He's not used to catching that. That's basically throwing the ball to the fullback.
Exactly. I mean, 6th catch of the season. He averages about a catch a game, and that was the catch for this game, and he dropped the ball figuratively and literally. That is tough for the Chabot offense. And as I had said, risking incompletion, you give 3 minutes to this DVC team.
And a timeout?
Exactly. This is a great situation for DVC, especially if they can be able to get a bit of a punt return, maybe bring some pressure on the punter here.
Shades of that Sierra game as Akaka rolls out to his right and has a low line drive punt. It'll take a bounce for Chabot, and they'll see if they can field it down. It'll go all the way down to the 1-yard line, and they'll see if they've touched it. Let's see. It looks like it might be fielded at the half-yard line, but the ball might have just touched the goal line.
This is going to be all relative on that official on the pylon there. It looked like he had the best view of it and was there in time. That is either a 1-inch liner.
That's why you run that punt, though, that Aussie-style punt where you roll it to the right because you get bounces like that. And, oh, my goodness, that's just – Akaka is the MVP of the night. He's punting it well. He's passing it well. He's running it well. And this one, alongside the help of the coverage team,
wow,
will be fielded down at the 1-inch line. So
it's safe to say that Nick Visser, or what looks to be Graham, has their work cut out for them. They're going to need to go 99.5 yards in under 3 minutes with 1 timeout to win this game.
And you just got to get out of your own end zone here. You're in the shadow of your end zone, the shadow of the goalpost as you're lined up inside of the 1-yard line. And, I mean, this is the story of legends here. Visser can come back being benched throughout the game.
Graham, it seems as if.
Yeah, Graham, rather, as he comes out. You would think you would put Visser in so he could at least run it up the gut in case. But, I mean, if you have strong belief in Sturgis Kofor, as the Vikings do, you just hand the ball off to him and get yourself out of a rut. They hand the ball off to Sturgis Kofor. Sturgis Kofor bounces off the line. He gets out of the end zone. He's brought down after a gain of 1 on the play. And Sturgis Kofor just doing his best job running off the right side of the offensive line, getting out of the end zone and stopping a safety.
The man who will not go down, just gaining about an inch, it seems like, for this DVC team. But right now what I would look for is potentially throw a play-action pass. It's risky, but right now is the perfect time to take risk with time not on your side. You've got one-on-one coverage with all 4 of your receivers.
You've been gambling all game long. Why not gamble here, right?
Exactly.
From the near hash mark, Graham will call for the snap, and he'll stand tall in the puck. He'll toss it out, and that's over the top. That should be a flag thrown in, as everybody on the Viking side of the field is calling for a flag on the coverage there, but there's no go there, as it'll be a 3rd down and long.
A holding or even a pass interference has to severely affect the receiver's ability to catch the ball. The ball might have been out a little bit too far for Dominguez there for a flag to be called. With a 3rd and long now, you can't throw it. You're at your own 1. It's 4-down territory. Right now, DVC's just got to find an open receiver.
Or do you know it's 4-down territory, run the ball up and try to make it 4th and manageable?
That is true, but again, time is not on your side. It is of the essence. There'd be less than 2 minutes to go if they do run.
But we've seen it with the Vikings as well when they were on defense. You run the draw play and you rip off a huge run there.
Exactly. You'll have to see what they do here.
Graham, the starting quarterback, calls for the snap. It'll be a shoulder-high snap. Graham will drop back, and it's tipped up in the air. Another deflected ball, and this one is off the left paw of Nick Viamaona.
That is a tough break there, as he did have Prowse open on the timing play. It was a great little stop. The starting part of the stop and go is a great job to be able to cut back there. Good timing, but
so this is the game right over here. 2:06 left in this game. The Vikings have to go for it on 4th down at the just about 1.5-yard line.
I could never think, if DVC does manage to not get a 1st down here, that a play of the game could be a punt, but a punt could prove to be the play of this game.
So it'll be a pistol set. 3 receivers out to the far side of the field, and the Vikings will likely just burn their last timeout to talk about this over one more time. I don't hate this timeout here. Just make sure you get everything straight.
I mean, there's no other really call that you can do. You got to take as much time as you can to really set up what exactly this play is.
And on top of that, the play clock was running down at 0, so you have to call a timeout to essentially not lose a half a yard.
Yeah, it's a tough situation that the Vikings are in right now, and if they do not convert this one play here, you almost look back to the time that Sturgis Kofor almost got pulled back in the end zone for a safety. It's almost like you would have liked that. With one timeout on your side and there's still 2:45 left, you have a chance to get the ball back.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be a 7-point game.
That could prove to be the better move than have it at your own 1 on 2nd down.
It's just like how sometimes on defense, like at the end of that Green Bay Lions game, how the running back slid instead of going into the end zone for a score, because that would have given the Lions an opportunity there. It's just that type of situation where, despite the fact that a safety is typically never the right play to be made on offense, that just might have been that smart play to be made.
Exactly. It seems, I mean, with a power back like Sturgis Kofor, it's hard to really teach a guy, hey, I'd like you to go down in the end zone here and get the ball back.
It's just one of those situations, I think, where you'll never actually call for, take a safety here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're just,
it's tough.
If it happens, it happens.
It's tough. You can't anticipate a 2nd and 3rd down, batted ball.
Exactly.
All this kind of stuff, but it's something to look at if
hindsight's
a 4th down's
2020, right?
Yeah.
So this will be the game here. 4th down and 10 from the 1.5-yard line. The Vikings are trailing 28-23. They're down 5 with 2:06 left. And the game will come down to the arm of Dylan Graham. Graham from the near hash mark gets the snap, taking a half-a-yard drop, and he finds a man over in the middle of the field, and it's dropped. Roman Sahagan had plenty of space in front of him, but Dylan Graham just was not able to hook up with this wide receiver. And that will be the game. Sahagan through the hands. One of your number 1 receivers, your most trusted targets, could not catch the ball in open space. And that is how the fat lady sings.
That is a tough break there for the Vikings. A little bit high, just a hair high there from Graham, but you've got to reel that in. And unfortunately, both parts there, a little default, but so it's tough.
Do you run it, or you got to take a knee at sportsmanship? Is there enough time, or do you have to run the ball?
There is what they could do is kind of almost a delayed victory formation where the quarterback is far in the shotgun and you take a couple seconds and then you take the knee, and there wouldn't be an issue. DVC has no timeouts, no way to stop the clock. If you score, you technically give them a chance.
I believe they will do that delayed victory formation of sorts, as Akaka cannot get his offensive lineman going there. Just some miscommunication by the side of Shabot. As, well, the first knee is taken. And
it seems this is when the play clock starts. The game will come to an end when the play clock will start a couple seconds after with 40 seconds. Chabot seems like they got this one wrapped up. It's tough to see it end like that. It's tough to see it literally fall through it slips through their fingers. I mean,
it's crazy to think the way that punt was set up and that situation was set up as well, because that what we used to call here the poly punt, that Aussie-style punt, just rolled all the way down. A terrific job. And this game literally came down to special teams. That's crazy.
Exactly. Special teams are so important. They're that third element really of football, and they're always kind of forgot about, but they're so important when they're executed perfectly.
So a snap is off to Akaka as they run the ball this time around. VML is taken out in the backfield after a loss of 1 on the play. So I think they did the math, and if they had taken that knee like you said, they need to take that delay knee, but instead they have to run the ball here. So it's just a strange situation here. There's 32 seconds left on the play clock counting down. There's 56 seconds left on the game, so you just need to run the ball one more time.
I mean, even take a knee. All they have to do is take a knee in the next 10 seconds, and the game is over. I'm not sure why they ran the ball there, even risk a fumble in the slightest.
I think that was just, miscommunication between the coaching staff on the field and the players on the field, because that was just quite the strange situation. I think they thought they didn't have enough time on the clock, so then they had to run the ball. But however it goes, the story's already been written as Kaka takes the knee. There's 23 seconds left in this game, and the clock will run down as the Vikings drop to 3-3 on the year, as the Chabot Gladiators go to 4-2, and what was an absolutely insane game.
Definitely. It really came down to exactly what really we thought it was going to be, a defensive battle towards the end. Both offenses, though, looking good. Chabot put up plenty of total yards, putting up almost about 400 like they usually do. DVC's defense coming in towards the end to be able to put together a few stops. It's just tough to see it end like that.
And, yeah, that's just how it is. It came down to special teams. It came down to the very first play of each quarter. And this was just a absolutely fun game, despite the fact, if you're just watching this game objectively, this was quite the thriller.
Definitely. I think it's safe to say also that the player of this game, without a doubt, was Chase Akaka. It did, from a special team standpoint,
exactly.
from a kicking standpoint, from being able to run, pass, everything, he was firing on all cylinders and just not carrying this team, but really just guiding this team towards a well-needed victory, 4-2 now for this Chabot team going into what looks to be an easy game against Santa Rosa next week against this 1-4 Santa Rosa team.
Santa Rosa is 1-4. Their only win is against the Vikings, but they are a tough defense. Every single time that they played, like, the first half score is not indicative of what happens in the second half. The scores just completely flip and the game changes. But yeah, the Vikings just dropped this one at home. It's tough to drop your first game in the Bay 6 Conference. But essentially at this point, you're not working for Elite Out. You're not working for the playoffs. Dropping to 3-3, or if you do, you need a huge change up there. All you need to do is get to 500, but in the gauntlet of what is the Bay 6, it's rough to see. The Vikings take on another top 10 team. San Francisco City College, I believe, coming into this week is ranked number 4 in the state. So they have a tall task out there to go out there and play San Francisco City College after dropping a game like this to Chabot. But
yeah, it's a tall task for this DVC defense after this type of game to go up against San Francisco. San Francisco averaging over 40 points a game this year. They just came off a 73-7 win last week. It's a tough task, but playing in college football is a tough task in itself. So it'll be a task that I think this DVC Knights team is up to.
The DVC Vikings team, right?
Yeah.
Vikings. No, it's all right. Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see what folds the Vikings put in after the bye week, if they go with Visser as the main quarterback, if they keep shuffling between Visser and Graham as well, and if they continue just to give the ball off to Sturgis Kofor, because he, despite the fact that we don't have stats, he had quite the night as well. So the player of the game for sure has to be Chance Akaka for the Gladiators team, because like coming into this game, what we said, he carries the team. And
he did just that.
Exactly. Call him Jansport because he just carries that team.
Definitely.
So with that, the final score in Viking Stadium is 28-23 as the Vikings, despite having an opportunity at the half-yard line, were not able to convert. And the punt was the play of the game right over there, fielding it down at the half-yard line. But yeah, 3-3 the Vikings fall. The Gladiators go to 4-2. And then we'll wait to see what happens next week for this Vikings team as they go into enemy territory at San Francisco City College, if they can have one of the biggest upsets of the year. But until then, it's been an amazing game. Thank you so much for coming alongside and just doing the color call for me, Shane.
Definitely. Anytime it's great to see a game like this, especially with college football being played under the lights Friday night, and great game to really see both these teams come out, compete like this. And I mean, it's great to see also teams make these types of changes during halftime, really buckle down defensively, offensively, see players like Okaka or Sturgis Kofor make these great, bizarre plays, like on Sturgis Kofor's fumble recovery for a touchdown.
It's just 12 being 12, like what we say with the Kaka. So for Oscar Martinez running the stream online right over here, for Colin Dixon running the cameras, Shane Wilk on color. My name's been Max Agress, and you have been a part of a DVC Sports Network production. We'll be back in a couple of weeks as the Vikings take on the #1 team in the state in San Mateo College on November 1st at 7 p.m. So until next time, as always, go Vikings.